D. Morgan Monday Friday. We're so back. And it's so almost my birthday. But it's not. Not yet. Not until tomorrow. Then I'm going to go crazy birthday mode. It's going to be wild. I'm going to have a cake. I'm going to play video games. You know, birthday sort of stuff. All right, as we know, this is, in fact, a work of fiction. We know this. Unfortunately, Sarah is not real. But we have to accept that and we have to move on. And carry her in our hearts. Or, make her real. One of the two, or both. Let's get into some fucking trial shit. I did so well last time, I definitely won't fuck up this time. They must have waved me down over 5 times. I've been in private banks with less active security than this. Were there private banks that had recently had a shooting? No. Then the comparison seems flawed. Armed guards in the halls, drones outside the windows, androids standing firm in the streets, triple spectrum scans at every entrance. They really rolled out the red carpet for you this time. If they were this concerned, why didn't they just move the trial outside of the city? The district attorney said as much, but the city council overrode them. The district attorney? You mean Miss Rockford? Miss Rockford's boss. Because she's the assistant to the district attorney, like she's the second in command. Word of the attack yesterday is already trickling out. They can't afford to delay or it'll look like they've been successfully intimidated. There's such a thing as overcompensating. Not on the stage of security theater. Were you able to look over the DNA analysis that Cyanus completed, Adonai? The report on the bindings? Yes. Alright, so whose blood do we got on this? Sweat matches DNA of Icaria. Blood matches the DNA of Subject A and Subject E. Heavens, so Miller. Interesting. Gave me a lot to think about on the ride over. You're looking much better. I don't feel better. They gave me some sort of injection last night. I woke up in much more pain, but still they insisted on taking off all my bandages. Some sort of injection? Sosei consented on an intravenous injection of a recovery accelerant at 9:33 p.m. last night. I mean, that seems kind of sick. You consented without knowing what it was. I nodded. Thought it would help me sleep. That interrogation room floor isn't exactly ideal for rest. Spoiled brat. This is the same guy who was confidently telling me he was fine with going to jail? What about you, Adonai? Were you able to get any rest? I slept like a rock. Eventually. Didn't even wake up when a certain unwelcome guest stumbled out the door in the early morning, thank God. But it was an accelerant, huh? I thought there was something familiar about this discomfort. They give it to us back in the military on occasion. Well, that makes sense. Expected. You heal up faster, but it still takes the same toll overall. Explains why I feel all my bruises are fresh. Why'd they wait until now to start giving Sosuke medical attention, though? Emma must have realized it was getting a bit silly, trying to accuse you of murdering 5 people when you looked like you had been thrown through a windshield. Don't worry, Sosuke. Sustained. Real. You're still handsome, even without the rugged edge that your injuries provided. Thanks for the legal advice, Kate. Happy to provide it. This is real legal advice, and I definitely have a degree. Hearing that doesn't make me happy, you know? I mean, look at Morgan. She's so and Emma. They're both very successful in the legal world. It's important advice. So, like, definitely poison? No, I think they literally just gave him a healing accelerant because if the trial goes on long enough, he will not look injured anymore. Like... Then why are you blushing? It's not like you're spotless. You still have a mark under your left eye. No, I've had that since birth. Oh. I was told once that it's charming. Why'd you bring it up? Is it not charming? So needy. Thank you for clarifying that for the court, detective. That was the same story he told me yesterday down in the lower wards. He and Reyes were the second on the scene, so they focused on clearing the lower floors before meeting with Rogers. Good to have it on the record so I can look it over. I think I remember most of that. Rogers apprehended the suspect, so they were securing the area, cleared the first floor, all the rooms were empty, but one was unlocked. Yeah. As for the next item on the docket, calling the defendant to testify. Seems like it's gonna be a nothing burger. Not entirely, Your Honor. My client waives his right to decline. Does he now? Sosuke Akaria. I'm a head of personnel security at the Akaria Financial Group. Yeah, so you see that all of his injuries are healed, which is why they gave him the accelerant. Because it looks better for the prosecutor. I do, and he's stupid, so yes. And the IFG, that's a family-run small business, mom-and-pop operation, I take it. Family-run. Well, Mr. Akaria, I feel like the court already has a strong understanding of the circumstances you found yourself in. How you were captured and tortured by these 4 known criminal associates, all of whom are now dead. How you were found standing over the body of Officer Chopin. I suppose all anyone can ask is, what do you have to say for yourself? I can only tell you what I remember, even if that's mostly pain. How about after the pain? How did it end? I woke up to the feeling my blood drying on my skin. Familiar sensation for a head of personnel security, I assume? Objection. I can answer. It was a novel experience. I pulled off my blindfold and felt like I'd stepped into the desert. White flaring in my eyes, heart thumping in my temple. But I realized there was a gun in my waistband. The indicator showed it was spent, didn't know what to make of it. Does this gun look familiar to you, Mr. Akaria? Yes, that's the same gun. Let the record show the witness has admitted to wielding the same mag US used to kill 2 of the victims. He admitted to having it in his waistband. He did not admit to wielding it. That is an incorrect wording. Is this okay? I stumbled forward towards a door. Like, that's leading wording. You can't really... I would object to that, personally. And past it, the whole room seemed red. And after that, you don't remember? Anything else you'd like to say to the court, Mr. Akaria, before we finish? Been calling it Magus like a wizard. I've been calling it the Mag US because it's like a mag-railed US-made video... Like, I was gonna say video game. Gun. But, you know, it might be Magus. It might be... They might have gotten silly with it. There is one more thing I recall. I remember holding my sword. Yeah, great. Awesome. So he admits it. You remember holding your sword. Oof, that ain't good. That's very interesting of you to say, Mr. Akaria. I think the acronyms are usually bent to fit words instead of the other way around. Yeah. It was on the ground, and it's important to me, so I bent over and picked it up. Do you recall the next thing you did with that sword, Mr. Akaria? No, the next thing I know, I'm being transported and read my rights. I see. Your Honor, do you feel we need to continue the questioning? The trial. Ooh. Ready to begin cross-examination at any time, Your Honor. If you insist. Round 1. Fight! Why I call it evacs instead of EVACS, yeah? Surely we're past round 1 by now. Cut bindings. Yoru. Magus. Blindfolded and in pain. Fair. Managed to untie my bindings. No, those are cut. Fucking don't even have to think about it. They're called cut bindings, not undone bindings. Sosuke couldn't have untied his way out of his bindings, not when they were very clearly cut by something sharp. Objecting to a statement from your own client now? What do you mean, Morgan? These pieces of cloth were recovered from the room where you were held, Sosuke, and they've very clearly been cut. You didn't struggle your way out, you cut your way out. Thinking actually really interferes with my own legal process. If somebody says something stupid, I object to it, and if something says something that incriminates my client, I start punching them. Though it's more kicking. It's less punching and more kicking. Yes, now that you mention it, that's right. But if I cut myself out first... Your Honor, the people ask that the defense do their testimony coaching before the trial begins from now on. As it stands, this has been a colossal waste of time. Do you think he was tied back up again? No. I'm pretty sure we cut him loose. But he was unconscious. Or it's possible that the person who came in and killed Chopin cut him loose. Yeah, I mean, this detail probably isn't important, right? It's very important, Your Honor. If he used a blade to cut himself free from his bindings, that means Sosuke couldn't have gotten free until someone handed him a blade. But do you think whoever killed Chopin tied him back up? No, I think they killed Chopin while he was still tied out. I think all he did was walk out, see his sword embedded in Chopin, and try to get it free. I don't think he was conscious until that moment. Meaning that the people's theory of a daring escape mid-interrogation is doing just fine, thank you for asking. None of us in the court here today seriously believe this man or his memory can be taken as the truth. Then forget him and just look at the bindings. They're hard physical evidence and they had to have been cut. By something sharp. What do we know that fits that description? You think it was Yoru? His captors kept him bound in that room most of the night, then cut him from his bindings with a sword to bring him in the main room for questioning, where he turned the tables on them before slaughtering them all. Badass! Well, counselor, are we done here? Could the katana have been used to cut those bindings? Like the actual bindings themselves. No, I'm raising. It couldn't have been the sword. It could have been the sword. No, I don't think it could have been the sword. Because the sword was somewhere else. We know what it was. It was probably the knife, but it was... No, wait. The bindings have Miller's blood on it. Did Yoru have Miller's blood on it? I think it did. But it only had it on the tip. I think is important. Where is Yoru? Is Yoru? Here it is. Matches Chopin, Miller, and Trey. Okay. Because it only has Miller's blood on it, it doesn't have it doesn't have any of that on it. Yeah. Of course it wasn't the sword that cut those bindings. What do you mean? The problem lies with the DNA. There it is. Your Honor, if we could please draw the court's attention to the forensic analysis of the bindings. You'll notice your client's blood, obviously. Yes, obviously. But upon closer inspection, you'll also see that blood from Miller was found as well. The poncho guy? Who was stabbed in the throat, as the court may recall, by your client's sword, as no doubt still fresh in the jury's memory. Well, how can that be, Your Honor? What do you mean? Is it not sharp enough? What a piece of... How can Miller's blood have ended up on the bindings that kept my client from leaving the room in which he was held? Unless Miller was killed before my client was ever cut free. Yeah, because I think he was cut free with the knife I used to kill Miller. That's kind of a big deal, isn't it? I thought so, at least. She's lying. That's not possible. You thought wrong, counselor. It's true that the katana has blood from Miller's stabbing on it, and I'll admit it's surprising to see his blood on your client's bindings. Miller's autopsy showed he had no wounds besides the fatal puncture on his neck. So the bindings on my client had to have been intact at the time Miller died. You put the knife in his hand so he could cut himself out, I'm pretty sure. Oh, that does make sense. Yeah, I think that is what happened. But those bindings didn't need to be cut before your client could kill him. What? If your client's wrists were left bound for questioning, he could have stolen the gun, killed Tankston Creek, then picked up his sword, as he just stated in his testimony, and set to work. You think my client was drugged and beaten before killing 4 men with his wrists bound? Hardly impossible for a man with his talents. And there's no other explanation for why he would have cut his bindings with a sword that, as you must insist, must have already been used to kill Miller. No other explanation? Not even if he used something else to break out of confinement? What if my client had simply used this to break out? The hell is that? Way overcooked, from what I can tell. It's a murder weapon, Your Honor. One recovered from the scene of the crime. That knife... Yes, that's what I grasped when I first woke up. That's impossible. What she said. There's nothing about a knife found seared to perfection in the ARC's data. Is it overcooked or seared to perfection? This knife was not found inside the building, Your Honor. I retrieved it from the alley immediately beside it. Your android did? Need her to submit video evidence of the entire afternoon to verify it, doubting Thomas? It's not the android I have trouble taking at her word, counselor. What forensics have been performed on it? Sarah, you licked it, so you tell me. There are no fingerprints remaining, and the DNA present in the blood is too damaged to be of use. But I have identified at least 2 different blood typings, AB negative and B negative, Your Honor. Your Honor, the people are, of course, interested in the forensic analysis of any evidence that seems pertinent to the crime at hand. But this was retrieved from an alleyway dumpster? A soot-filled drum near an alleyway dumpster. From an alley in the lower wards. Without strong evidence linking it to the crime, I see no reason to entertain the idea that this is some kind of 4th murder weapon. 3rd murder weapon. What? The bat was post-mortem. The point still stands. Well, how about it, Morgie? Any link between this totally not suspicious fire-broiled knife and our crime? Or should we just throw it back in the garbage? Again, it was a soot-filled drum by the garbage. Of course I have more to go on than mere proximity, Your Honor. I have proof right here that the knife was what Sosuke used to cut himself free. Med records, Yoru, cut bindings. I think just cut bindings, right? Because Miller has B-negative blood, and that is what was used to kill Miller. We know that 100%. The bindings, what of them? They were clearly cut with something sharp. Yes, we've been over that. And the knife is sharp. I'm not gonna walk in circles. Really? What about the medical records? I mean, oh, I guess his hand was wounded. Cut on left hand finger. Right hand prints on handle. Yeah, because he cut himself. It doesn't have his blood on it. That makes sense. I think I could have argued that. Then again, it is just blood typing, which is not extremely... I guess isn't extremely persuasive. Just take another look at that. Your client's medical intake record. A little late to still be drumming up sympathy, but if there are shirtless photos in the file, I suppose I have a duty. Of course you do. You picked it. Yeah, I know. There are. What? I did not remove my shirt for... If I may please direct the court's attention to one specific item. Slight laceration found on left hand. What do you mean slight? Like a paper cut? More like a cutting board accident. Neither paints a very gallant picture. But if he had cut his finger when he was first arrested, then it must have been sustained around the time of his escape. Like when he was using a knife to cut himself out of bindings while blindfolded. Yeah, that makes sense. Even a master swordman can nick himself on his blade every now and then. His katana doesn't have his blood on it. Was found with a lot of blood on it, yes. But none of his own. Adonai is correct. Yoru was thoroughly tested and found to have blood residue matching Miller, Trey, and Officer Chopin. But not one drop of Sosuke's. Meanwhile, we have a knife right here, ready to be submitted into evidence and studied under every microscope that the state can find. That just so happens to have Sosuke's exact blood type on the tip. AB negative. That blood type, that is a really, really rare blood type. Doesn't match anyone in this case's full file except for Sosuke. What? I do blood type fortune telling. So I have a hobby. Shoot me. 2 shots right in the base of my skull. Counselor Morgan, perhaps you might grace us all with your formal request. I call for this knife to be submitted into the record and forensically analyzed as quickly and thoroughly as possible. Because I believe it is the murder weapon that actually ended Miller's life. Me at work. Just put 2 in the base of my skull, why don't you? A knife to the neck. Would be much easier to pull off than using the very tip of a sword. I'd hypothesize. Nice recovery. Perfect, Ukemi! In other words, then, you're asking for the medical examiner to reevaluate whether this knife might be a better fit for the wound in Miller's neck. Yeah. Did you just repeat what she said but slightly rephrased? A conversational tactic to surpass Metal Gear. It's worth repeating, Your Honor, because the people understand the full weight of what this knife implies. You can overturn this entire case in an instant, depending on what Sato finds. Emma's repeating what I said because she's stunned. I just flashed her my hand, and it was 1 card away from a full house. The people have no objections, Your Honor. This trial requires that we fully examine this new piece of evidence. Cool. So, does someone have her number? Is there a group chat for everyone who works in for the government, or... Dr. Sato's already on her way, so there is a group chat, and I'm not in it. She'll begin the examination as soon as she arrives. That's not even a crazy good hand. I mean, yeah, but if you're showing your hand and it's 1 away from a full house, depending on the point in the game, it's like, you just fold at that point. Full house is pretty solid. Like, that's not a bad hand. Guess we just slack off until she's done, then. It occurs to me, Your Honor, that we ought to thoroughly examine why this possibly critical piece of evidence was not found during the police's investigation. The investigation and preservation of this crime scene was a joint effort between the police and Sinus Security. Is somebody calling me right now? Who is calling me right now? Oh, Scam Likely, my friend Scam Likely. Then perhaps our next witness can shine a light on the source of this deficiency. Adelaide Hahn. I can call you if you want. Don't call me during stream. Site manager at Sinus Security. I served as supervisor for the scene of the crime in case 356319B. Wow, can I call you lady? Nah, babe, but what should I call you, though? Well, you can keep calling me babe, or... You address the adjutant as Your Honor. Awfully cold name for such a hot... Why the hell wasn't this knife found sooner? Well, I hate to throw a business partner under the bus, but... We at Sinus Security maintain the perimeters and stand watch over secured scenes. It's the cops who do the searching and flagging. You'd have to ask them why they didn't go dumpster diving. It was a drum? The police aren't your business partners, though, are they? I don't understand the question, Your Highness. Sinus Security is a cell corporation owned by FIC Holdings and offshore rebranding an effective pseudonym for Kim Acquisitions. Cell Corporation, informal label for business that operates without any clear or explicit knowledge of who its parent or... Interesting. So it's a corporation that doesn't have any contact with its parent corporation or even knows who they are. AKA the heart of the criminal organization operating in the lower wards that is commonly referred to as the Blue Blood Mafia. If you say so. Sounds like it's above my pay grade. Permission to treat the witness as hostile. Can I get popcorn first? Do you know why the state cooperates with the Blue Bloods to this degree? Why you're allowed to run your businesses and manage your petty fiefdoms? Petty fiefdoms? How about this? It's a free country, and we're loyal, capitalist, tax-paying entrepreneurs. You got your own explanation? It's because you're insignificant. Emma's real talent is just antagonizing witnesses until they get so mad they tell her whatever she wants to hear. Neither you nor your organization are on trial here today. That's not a favor, and it's not a show of respect. Then again, Han is a young blood, so it is entirely possible that she will agree and tell her that the Blue Bloods ain't shit. But she is still technically part of the Blue Blood organization, so who knows? It's just reality. The state is slow to shift its priorities. You aren't the focus of this investigation, but if you impede this trial's progress by dodging questions and playing stupid, you'll find that the state shifts its attention to your neck very fast. You got questions for me then? Why wasn't the alley searched? Because the police found all the murder weapons within minutes. No rational person walked in that bloodbath and thought, gee, I wonder if there's a knife buried under a pile of ash in the alley downstairs. Your witness, counselor. My turn. If my hunch is right, it'll be critical that I gather as much information as possible at the scene of the crime, and the ways in which it changed after I left. When did Sinus Security first arrive on the premises, ma'am? Midnight. About 2 hours after my client was arrested. You're sure? Checked my messages and saw the time right on my phone when we got there. You were there yourself. Trouble with being a site supervisor. You gotta stay on site. A lot of naps in parked cars. Han let slip a few details about the building's setup when we first met. Time to get it all out on the record. Do you know who owns the building that these crimes took place in? I don't. Do you know who installed the security features on location? It was Cyanus. Must have gotten hired by someone. Not my department. But you recognize some of the handiwork. The front door was Cyanus, the individual vault room locks too. That front door was locked when the officers arrived. They had to shoot it open. Shouldn't your security systems recognize officers of the law? Our doors use physical locks. A lot of folks in the lower wards don't trust a fob scanner that can be hacked. Physical locks can be bypassed too. Sure, but at least that takes time. What's up, what up, sluts? We're interviewing Han. Do all the doors require keys? I'm gonna press. Is there a way to unlock that front door without its key? I mean, you could use a spare, right? Is there any way to lock the front door without its key? Yeah, but the technique's real complicated. You walk out and let it shut behind you. That door is designed to lock behind you automatically. It's a selling point for a building designed to be secure. Bro, at blind 7, what did you mess up? I only messed up one thing and I picked the wrong evidence. Once. That knife was found in the alley only yesterday, even though the police should have searched there. Yup, seems like not everyone did their job. Did you do yours? Was the alley monitored around the clock? It was. Any disturbances to the scene in the alley? No, none. Could this knife have been planted there? We're at 18. Didn't think about what knives cause. I forgot that he cut his hand, okay? I didn't remember that he cut his hand. That's all. I should have remembered that his blood was on it, but I didn't. I guess it is pertinent. But it's such a huge plot point. Yeah, it's a plot point now! So there's no opportunity for someone to plant that knife after the crime occurred. Not even a blue blood. There were cops coming and going all over. Why don't you ask them if we went around planting evidence? We did our damn job. Really? Okay. I guess I shouldn't hit on 18, but still. Right, as expected. Accusing a witness of corruption. I didn't think that... I wasn't trying to accuse her of corruption. I was saying somebody else could have planted... Whatever. Weather. It was a warm night, I'll bet. You asking me about the weather? Not exactly grade A small talk. See, because I thought I was going to get through this without clicking on this one, because it didn't seem relevant. Relevance, Your Honor. I was trying to be polite, but if you insist. Were the windows open in the building when you arrived? There's a lot of windows, not sure. The crime scene and the room directly below it, were there windows open? Yes, those windows were open when Cyanus arrived. Strange, didn't it rain that night? That drizzle was over before 9 p.m. And even if it had been a downpour, it's not a crime to risk getting your windowsills wet. Alright, so the building wasn't completely sealed by the time you got there. Now we're at 21, I'm staying. Doi. Thank you. That was a very enlightening conversation. But it raises just one... I guess the more relevant way to... The more accurate and, like, intelligent way to go about this particular... With the blackjack minigame is go to all the subjects, stay on all of them, look at your final, like, how close you are to 21, and then go in and try and, like, see about hitting. Because I guess I didn't fully deal, I didn't get my full hand dealt yet. But it raises just one question. This bitch is not a gambler. She does not ball. I do not gamble. I do not. I just don't. I'm not a gambler. Whoever could have gotten inside the building before Chopin and Rogers? Boo. Why are you booing me? Shown. What, just because I don't gamble? Like, I'll play a gacha game or whatever, but I'm not spending money on it. If anything is on the line, I'm not gambling with it. Gambling is a last resort situation. Why bonking me? The hell are you talking about? Your Honor, perhaps Counselor Morgan might narrow her absurd, attention-grabbing claim first? You're playing the gambling criminal attorney. Yeah, she is a gambler. I would not be gambling. She is gambling. I don't have an option. So the people can properly eviscerate it. Play the character. Okay, first I have to find somebody to kill. And then I need to get, like, and then I need to fucking form a psychosexual fixation on Emma Rockford. I gotta go. Best of luck, gamer. Yeah, thanks, Level 1 Cleric. You're my only support in these trying times. Yeah, what she said! Someone got into the building before Chopin and Rogers did. That's become obvious. What are you talking about? The only way into that building was through the front door. Chopin had to shoot it down. Are you suggesting that he didn't even try turning the handle first? They're not a mod. They wouldn't get it. Bovie? Bovie? What the hell does that mean? See, it should be locked. Jazz? But is there a reason it wouldn't have been locked? There was an unlocked door, but it wasn't the front one that we know for sure. But also, Morgan's kind of on a tear, so I don't know if she wants to if her plan is to push this. I think it was locked. Why are you shaking me like a wet rag? No, the door was definitely locked when those two arrived. The witness has testified that the door is designed to lock itself automatically. This one isn't even hard. Look, I'm trying to understand where Morgan is going with this. Logically, it would be locked. But also, there's like, reasons for people. I mean, like, don't shake me. My brain cell is gonna shake loose. Now I'm never gonna finish this. This witness has testified that the door is designed to lock itself automatically, so it's impossible for the door to have been left unlocked. As you say, but in that case, we know the front door was locked all night, and we know that the master key was found on Creek's body on the 3rd floor. Her ass cannot enter the mind of the red-headed lesbian serial killer. I can only really get into one of those mindsets. I just don't have the I don't have the red-headed energy. And I'm also definitely I'm also definitely not a murderer. Unlimited Fridays. Me never beating this does not mean I would play it forever. That means I would stop playing it. Then where do I even... I didn't have this problem. Well, you clearly are a redhead lesbian serial killer. What the hell are you trying to say anyway? Just that they used a spare key. Oh, a spare key. How convenient. But completely unfounded. The witness just testified that a spare key is the only other way in. But there's no proof that a spare key even exists. Probably not, no. Probably! So how about I show the courtroom where it was hidden instead? It had to have been in the dumpster, right? I've been waiting for this dumpster to be relevant. The dumpster? What is your obsession with presenting evidence that was found in the garbage? I'm going to ignore that comment. And besides, there wasn't a spare key in the dumpster. It must have been underneath it. What? Is that true? Hey, don't look at me. I have no idea what she's talking about. That dumpster has clearly been moved, as indicated by the markings left behind from dirty rain in the lower wards. We can all see those marks, counselor, but it could have been moved at any point before the last time it rained down there. It rained that day. The witness just testified that the last time it rained was 9 p.m. on the night of the murder. So what? Your claim is that a spare key to the front door was left underneath the dumpster? Not so dissimilar from leaving a spare key under a potted plant. Or a setting stone. Or a Biwa statue. Bet hers is huge. Oh, she's got a huge ass. There's no denying that. This isn't anything like either of those examples. Emma loses one case and she falls apart. Well, she's never lost a case to Morgan before. Like, not even once before you start the game has she lost the case to Morgan. We get it, Sosuke Eurobeat. He lives in super Japanese castle land. Like an artificial, like, outside... like an artificial, like, outside Japan in, like, a skyscraper. That dumpster is massive, and its wheels are long gone. Correct. So if anyone had moved it after the police had arrived, the cops definitely would have heard it. He's not Japanese, though, bitch. I know! He just lives there! Culture vulture. Look, I feel like if you were adopted by a Japanese family, you would be forgiven for adopting some Japanese, like, and you lived in a place that was, like, sort of Japan. You would just kind of become culturally Japanese after a point. American expat mindset. If he was an expat, then he would be like, I'm an American. I don't deal with all this Japanese crap, even though it's been my life for the past 30 years. If it was moved after the rain stopped and before Chopin and Rogers got there, that narrows it down to sometime between 9 and 10 p.m. It's all he knows, thus he's Japanese. Counterpoint, Wolverine, Canadian, but whatever. Where is he living that is not Canada or America? He went to Japan. In that movie, what was it? It was just called The Wolverine? That was a fucking bizarre movie. I was at a dinner with my mom at a Japanese restaurant, and they were just playing that. Japan? Yeah, does he live in Japan? I thought he just went there. This is also a plot point in New King of the Hill. What is happening in New King of the Hill? Are they in Japan? Have you not seen the Welcome Baka Gaijin panel? Like, he just lives there? It's really funny. Wolverine's just like, yeah, I decided to move to Japan, bub. Fuck the X-Men. And, of course, someone would only bother to move the dumpster that heavy if they knew what they'd find underneath it. Someone like... It's an effigy-based Yamamoto Nadeshiko wife or whatever. I don't want to accuse Han. But theoretically, she's the only one that could have moved it. It's like, it's another easy slam dunk. Okay, fine. I want to pick Chopin so bad. Okay, modded arms. It had to be Han, of course. Counselor! He was with the other guy? That's true, they were together until he went upstairs. They didn't separate before that. That makes sense. As a known associate of the Blue Blood Mafia and an employee of the security company who installed the front door at the crime scene, she'd have known exactly where to find a spare key. That dumpster also happens to be incredibly heavy, but I don't believe this witness's mod documentation has been submitted to the court. Could you estimate for us your approximate lifting strength? You lift with your back, not your arms, lady. Pushing strength, then. Me? I couldn't push over a flower. Fact is, you're just bullshitting. There's no proof of any of what you've said. We could check for your fingerprints on the front door. You'll find them because I've used it plenty of times. It's my job. We could check for your fingerprints on the dumpster. That thing's filthy. You'd get nothing but partials from a bunch of unlisted. And Agates and whoever else stumbling around in that alley. Would we? Dunno. But after you do, I might just recall how I nearly puked when I saw that crime scene. How I might have stepped out into that alley to catch my breath. Would you believe I rested my hands on that dumpster then? Not the side of it. Where you would push it. This line of questioning is unproductive, Your Honor. Counselor Morgan cannot substantiate her theory because the fact is, there's nothing strange about Han's prints being on any centimeter of that building. Not when she spent nearly 2 full days patrolling it. True, fingerprints won't be enough. I need something more impactful. And I've got just the thing. What? Han was there that night. She was there before the police ever were, and she was there long before scientists showed up at midnight. And I can prove it right now. How? Exactly. What? I'm going to prove how she got there before the police did. What the hell was that? Adonai, did you really have to do that again? What is happening right now? This is a simple whistle. Every time I press it... Every ad in the courtroom picks up on a rather nasty frequency. As does any phone with the proper receiver app installed. So, should the witness be excused so she can answer her phone, Your Honor? You brought that shit into the courtroom? Where exactly was this whistle found? At the scene of the crime, of course. Near where Creek's body lay. Police must have disregarded it as a keychain or toy. Did anyone ever teach them that when you find a button, you should press it? That's the exact opposite of what you should do at a crime scene. Me too. Honestly, the best part about playing these courtroom bits is that I'm fully following Emma's logic better than I follow Morgan's. Yesterday, Dr. Sato testified that Creek was alive for several minutes after being shot. Is you make a good Emma? I definitely, if this was like a group voicing thing, I would definitely be Emma, for sure. I make a good Morgan, LOL. If he pressed this whistle even once in that time, the witness's phone would have started getting alerts. As I've demonstrated to the court just now. I didn't submit this evidence to reveal it dramatically. Cool reasoning. Still improperly handle evidence not applicable to the courtroom now. Unfortunately, that doesn't work in any of these games where that stupid shit happens because the courtroom rules are extremely lax. Anything to say for yourself, Miss Hahn? Did someone install the app on your phone as a prank? Its reception has a limited range. Though Lower Wards is a tight-knit, high-density community, how far could you have been? Far. I wasn't in the area that night. Also, she was the first one on the scene of the crime. After the, well, you know, the crime of killing Chopin, not Chopin arriving. It doesn't matter what range she was at, Your Honor. The defense claims that Hahn entered the building with some kind of spare key. You can't prove it? No, I can't. Letting the front door lock behind her to block Chopin and Rogers. But those two officers did enter after they shot the lock, at which point they didn't run into the witness. Creek was shot at 9:45 p.m. Considering the time it would have taken Hahn to arrive and retrieve the spare key, she would have only been a few steps ahead of Chopin and Rogers. After coming so far with your brilliant spare key deduction, are you now going to claim that she simply ran away? No, at that point she would have had to hide. Only door unlocked, baby. Since they didn't see her, logically, we must conclude that she hid in one of the rooms on that floor. That is logical, but it's also entirely conjecture. Not this time. Detective London's testimony established the possibility. Remember what the good Detective London testified earlier? Rogers had already apprehended the suspect, so he focused on securing the area. Sunshine and I cleared the first floor. All the rooms were empty, but one was unlocked. Can you teach me how to speak brackets out loud later? Two police detectives have sworn that one vault on the first floor was found unlocked. Unlocked perhaps by a spare master key. Sosuke having no idea what's going on, ass expression. Oh yeah, he is fully lost. He doesn't know what's happening. There it is. Sosuke never knows anything. Sosuke knows sword and loyalty to the Ikaria. Is that some kind of big deal? She did the fucking Eto bleh expression. God damn it. Your Honor, what Counselor Morgan is proposing would put the witness behind Officers Chopin and Rogers as they proceeded upstairs. Not a bad place to be if you want to do some backstabbing. You've got to be shitting me. That's... Judge, play the EDM. Judge, fucking kick it, please. That's some creative geometry you're employing, Counselor. Imagining the witness as somehow getting positioned behind Tariq Chopin, yet somehow remaining invisible to the eyes of Officer Rogers. It's almost like Officer Rogers was forced to wait outside because Chopin told him to. Ugh, that's... non-Euclidean crime scene recreation. Very novel. Her insult sounded really smart, so I'm inclined to agree. I thought I had something, but when I tried to put the cards on the table, how could Han have tried to get... How could Han have gotten behind Chopin on the third floor? Was Rogers distracted at the window, maybe, or... Wrong question. I'm getting ahead of myself, trying to work backwards at the point. I'm always doing that. I shouldn't ask what Han could have done to get in a position where she was able to kill Chopin. I should first ask what Han would have done to serve her own interests. Your Honor, there's some testimony I'd like the court to hear once more. If you could access the stenography protocol... The what protocol? Was I supposed to be taking minutes for this meeting? I can recall any testimony you want to review, Adonai. If Han won't self-incriminate, the only testimony that could give me a clue as to her actions would be... probably London's, right? What was in Roger's testimony? Do we have that? I guess Rogers was the one there. Recite Rogers' testimony from yesterday. Start from after they entered the building. What are you fishing for? We heard a loud slam. Chopin gets all deadly serious and insists I stay and he goes ahead. Easy shit. That's it. The sound Rogers heard from the alley, the one that made Chopin want to form a pincer. That must have been when Han... The sound the officer heard was that of someone fleeing the scene. Out the window, down the fire escape, and onto the dumpster. It's a bit of a drop. Even a dainty suspect would make quite a racket using the dumpster lid to break their fall. Your Honor, if we have to entertain this thread of conjecture, might we at least ask for proof that it ends somewhere impactful? I hear ya. Counselor Morgan, take this one seriously. You're telling me that? What exactly are you accusing this witness of? Are you prepared to accuse Han of having murdered Tariq Chopin? I don't think so. No, I don't think so. But if I back down, then this has gone nowhere. You're such a sucker for girl boobs. Yeah, true. Obviously I am. Counselor, you am joking. Well, absolutely no. Yeah, see, that's not even fucking... The sound of Han was what caused the cops to split up. She can't have killed. Yeah. She's been uncooperative and has lied on the witness stand, but Miss Han didn't kill anyone. You poked at my weakness for girl boobs, and it forced me to choose the wrong answer. I'm blaming you. Woof, that was anticlimactic. I mean, perjury? Who even cares? Perhaps now, Your Honor, the court can get back on track and bring this witness's testimony to a close. And considering the fact that she may very well have perjured herself, I think it might be a better use of the court's time if we cleared the room for the remainder of this witness's testimony. No objections, Your Honor. Okie dokie. Bailiffs, clear the gallery and remove the defendant to a holding room. They're forcing us out? What the hell? Hey, tag along, would you? With Sosuke? Can't let someone with a concussion fall asleep, right? I am certainly not still concussed at this point. See? He's delirious. Trust me. Very well, Adonai. Good luck. Place empties out faster than I thought. No gallery, no judge live feed, no bells and whistles. No jury live feed. You just give your testimony to the defense, the people, and moi. Then when you're done, I get to watch them argue over whether or not I should add it to the record. So, you think I got something contentious to say? Sorry, but it's just going to be more of the cold shoulder. What I think is that you're scared. The hell? Of what? Who? You? An audience. What, the pigs? You think I give a shit of what any of them thinks, says, does? If even if any one of them might leak what you say back to the old guard? What's an old guard? The ruling faction amongst the Blue Bloods who use young bloods like this as witness as their cannon fodder. Where'd you learn all that, you binge a late dine special? Knowing Emma, she just learned all this from... Matter of fact, I did. Old guard knows where my loyalties lie. I'm no snitch. So now there's someone to snitch on. I don't help state prosecutors, and I definitely don't help Icarian lawyers. The court's already emptied out. We can sit here in silence if you like. 15 minutes of nothing, then you walk out. But when you do, someone's gonna make assumptions about what went on in here. Telling me I'm screwed if I do, screwed if I don't, ain't exactly got me feeling Sosuke didn't kill Creek. Maybe you don't care if an Ikarian dog goes down for a crime he didn't commit, but how do you feel about the person who did put that hole in Creek's chest, toasting to the news of the verdict? Screw this. 9:47 p.m., night of the murders, I got an alarm on my phone. Knew it was Creek because the whistles all have specific frequencies. You gotta set them in your device if you want to listen for them. Creek had nerves like ice. Strong bluffer. Wouldn't press that button unless he absolutely had to. I ran. Was the fastest that way on foot. Usually is in the lower wards. Knew where the spare key was. Helped set up the whole damn place. Doors, keys, soundproofing. Stepped inside and had just gotten my phone light out when these two idiot cops came up. Reds and blues, but no siren. Trying to be some kind of movie shit. Thought they were gonna shoot me. And I heard Chopin getting ready to break the lock, and I knew they were gonna shoot me. Used the spare key to the nearest vault, dipped inside, and prayed they wouldn't just head straight upstairs. Lucky for me, they did. You did put a big hole in him. Yeah, I fired an explosive round into his chest. Delayed explosive, but still explosive. You followed after them? At a distance, but yeah. Saw their boots on stairs, their shoulders round corners. They split on the second floor. One went upstairs, he was quiet. Except that squeak on the fourth step. Creek used to joke that it was a valuable security feature. They separated on the second floor without any prompting? A shitty bolter? I mean, I guess. I feel like it's better than a bolter because it doesn't have a pointless rocket booster on it. It's just mag rails. Much cleaner that way. Other one was stomping around the second floor, so I was able to keep my distance. Always knew exactly where that one was. Then one shouted down. He shouted, saying that everyone was dead. That must have been Chopin just before Sosuke snuck up on him. I liked Creek. His boys were alright too. But I did not want to join them in Red Hood's company. You take that back. The rocket booster makes it way stronger, definitely. Look, the rocket booster on the back of a bullet is just as feasible as current, like, railguns. So who knows? Maybe the bolter would be more, well, it would be a better gun. So I didn't risk sticking around a second longer. I opened that window on the second floor and jumped for the ground. I was willing to hurt my knees, fall on my ass if I had to, but I ended up smacking the dumpster instead. The guy on the second floor shouted after me, "They're in the alley." I heard windows slide open above me, footsteps on the fire escape, but my knees had stopped shaking, the fog was with me. They never saw me. You're saying you never even set foot on the third floor? Not until I came back hours later as a sinus rep. Nah. Where's the spare key now? Bottom of the bay at the moment. Hell of a throwing arm, as you can see. I ain't gonna help you go snorkel around for it if that's what you're asking. Well then. The people thank you for your testimony. You've cleared up a number of oddities surrounding this case, though none of the answers you've provided have changed the fundamental facts of what the defendant is accused of. Not quite. My first blind guess was wrong. Oh. She was in and out counselor, didn't even set foot upstairs. See, I would never have guessed her because it's way, way too obvious. Like, the ogged arms, the, like, professional disregard for Creek. Like, come on. Her, like, fucking fuckboy behavior? Nah. I know. Not until she came back to secure the scene, right? Out with it, counselor. There's no need for theatrics without the jury or gallery here. I'm still here. I do appreciate the witness being so forthcoming about her first visit to the scene. Now I just need her to explain why she started covering up evidence when she returned. None of my friends are on except Kate, and I don't want to watch this because spoilers. I'm just sitting here like, well, I appreciate you being here, even if you don't want to, even if you want to avoid spoilers. That's real nice of you. What are you talking about? That's the knife, right? Oh, actually, it might have been this. See, this was hidden. This was thrown into the garbage. She didn't end up on the... No, wait. Yeah, I think it's a scrap of paper. I think the knife was probably ditched, like, when the murder was happening. Why go to such effort to hide one small scrap of paper? What is that? More trash? Seriously? That's exactly what it is. Trash. Garbage. Some idiot knocked over a trash can on the second floor. It's a big building. This stuff happens. Still don't want to answer? Because this is a piece of paper from the third floor. That's okay. I will. You covered up that scrap of paper because it implicates you as an accomplice. Didn't see that coming. Because it's nonsensical, Your Honor. Counselor, you just got done explaining how Hana arrived after the pod was killed and left before Chopin died. Not an accomplice to murder. Just the mafia equivalent of leaking government secrets. Even though the papers were almost entirely illegible, it only took 4 characters for the P492 plan to blow up in court yesterday. Years of blue blood planning all down the drain, because Creek was reading something he shouldn't have when he died. But if he shouldn't have had it in the first place, one has to wonder where he might have gotten it. All because that one goddamn watermark. Identical to the one on your own business card. Zionist security? You leaked the red ink? Creek never asked nobody for nothing. Dumbass was a giver. Gave money, food, blood, more than any of us. Enough that the weaker ones wouldn't have to get stuck. Guy like that came to a two-faced con hostess like me and asked for help. That red ink is radioactive. Anyone caught with it, why would he ask you for it? Old guard knew Creed was charismatic, brave, smart, everything they feared in a young blood. They also knew Creek made them too much money for them to just off. So the old guard decided to wear them down instead. More jobs than any other crew, more responsibilities, less downtime, no sleep. Keep them too tired to have time to rebel, then wait for them to screw up, so you can make an example of them when they do. Manager would do the same thing when a host got too full of themselves. Started thinking they were the ones bringing in the money, and they were the ones who should keep it. Just put them on the grind. Grind them into dust. One old bastard had them trying to grab that Akaria kid or whatever. At the same time, another expected them to do some kind of arms handoff to a big shot. At least that was the rumor. Look, point is, Creek knew they had a target on their back already, so they wanted some kind of deterrent. They could have dropped that red ink into any inbox in town like a tactical nuke if they had to. But maybe that's why they fired their missiles first. You think the old guard killed Creek? I don't think it was that pretty boy Hound nursing those broken bones. Did he off the Chopin guy, though? I mean, I'd kill a stuck-up, spoiled prick like that for no motive, so... Did that answer your questions, counselor? Not the most burning one. When did this scrap of paper arrive on the second floor? Wasn't there when I ran out that window? It was dark and you were panicked. How could you even have noticed? Paper's white. If you had seen it, would you have taken it? You kidding? Yeah, of course I would have taken it. Would have eaten the damn paper to make sure. Why didn't you simply eat the damn paper later when you did see it? Removing an item from an ARC-scanned building would set off any number of red flags. And the first thing that would happen is they'd wind the clock back to see what it was. That's what I did. Look back to see how the hell I missed it, but the damn thing was in every pick the ARCs had right from the beginning. Knocking over trash to hide it was the best I could do. Low reward survival tactics. Hide in numbers. If this scrap wasn't on the second floor when you left, but it was on the ARCs from the start, that means Rhea's body cam saw it by the second floor windowsill, the one that's connected to the fire escape. Your Honor, I believe we're done with this witness, even though all we've managed to establish is that someone went from the third floor to the second floor without taking the stairwell. Someone circled around. You got all that from one paper? Am I stupid? Just because those papers originated on the 3rd floor and because they have a shoe print on them. We're done when I say we're done, bitch. Literally. If that scrap was found by the windowsill, someone could have taken the fire escape. Exactly. Could have. Someone could have. But obviously they didn't, because then they would have run right into Dr. Sato! She has some evidence or DNA or whatever. Maybe even an updated autopsy report if you even care. Should we let her in? Your Honor, you're the one overseeing the trial. Actually, skipped it. Your Honor, you're the one overseeing the trial, so I can cry if I want to. Open her up. And kick the flirt out. Hey, Miss Morgan, that Ikarian dog didn't kill Creek's pod. No, he didn't. You gonna find out who did? Not your job, huh? Guess I deserve that. Finding Creek's killer is not technically my job either, Han. But if they're brought before me, I can promise I won't hold anything back. Appreciate this sentiment, but I'm not gonna hold my breath. And I won't tell any of the other youngbloods to hold theirs. Phew. Lots of news to break. I'll leave the interpretation of the good and the bad to you two. That's cool. That's cool. Just imply I'm the ugly. It's fine. Counselor Morgan's hypothesis stands. This knife matches Miller's entry wound. Well, how about that? And it matches the wound better than the katana, considering what we discussed yesterday. I'd be ready to say this is definitely definitively the murder weapon used to stab Miller. But I've had no more luck with DNA testing than Sarah did. You weren't able to get anything? Nothing in the range of admissibility. However, like Sarah, I was able to perform blood type analysis on the blade. And while I also found AB negative and B negative samples on it, I found one more blood type as well. A positive. 3 people cut with one knife? This can't be hygienic. As long as you don't stick it in your mouth, you should be fine. Yeah, thank God nobody would do that. A positive blood. Who was there that night that had A positive blood? Uh-oh, Morgan. Let me just fucking double check here. Oh, she's AB negative. Never mind. Who did have A positive? I thought that was what it was implying, but no. Chopin had A positive. O negative. B negative. Riaz, Rockford, Rogers, Sato, Sarah, Sosuke, Tanks. A negative. It has to be Chopin. Your Honor, these findings bring a rather alarming fact to light. If Dr. Sato believes that Miller was most likely stabbed by this knife and not the katana, that means that this knife was also the source of Miller's blood on Sosuke's bindings. So either my client killed 4 men while cycling between a gun, a sword, a bat, and now a knife with his wrists tied together, all before ever stopping to cut his bindings, or he was still in captivity when the Blue Bloods were killed. But wait, that almost sounds like an alibi for 4 of the 5 murders. That is not an alibi, Your Honor. What? This track fucking rips. What the hell? We got horns? Why did nobody tell me we had horns before? Merely an increasingly strong shadow of a doubt? The jury can decide that for themselves. The facts surrounding Tariq Chopin's death still stand. Sosuke Ikaria was the only living individual in the room Chopin was killed in. Sosuke Ikaria is the only person with his fingerprints on the katana, something he corroborated with his very own testimony just a short while ago. And the defense's theorized fleeing suspect has already been revealed as incapable of committing any of these crimes. Yes, But unfortunately for the people's case against my client, there's evidence that completely overturns our understanding of how Chopin died. The knife that Dr. Sato just confirmed was used on Miller. Very likely used to kill Miller, yes. But definitely used to kill Chopin. What? What are you going on about? Blood typing. Chopin is the only victim with A-positive blood. Even my client Sosuke has AB negative blood. Yet Dr. Sato just told us that A-positive blood was found on this knife. That blood could have come from nowhere but the single fatal wound identified on his autopsy. Chopin's blood was all over that scene. The knife could have fallen into it at any point. Not at any point, no. This knife was removed from the crime scene and never seen by the Arcs. That means it had been moved into the alley before Detective Reyes arrived on the 3rd floor. But Chopin was impaled by the sword, we've all seen it. Hey, Emma, I really hate to break it to you. You can stab somebody in the same place with more than one thing, and it doesn't make another hole. Yes, but not fatally. How could that stab wound not be fatal? Because it was post-mortem. You're basing this on the blood. This is what happens when you only work from the office. True. And I guess watching late dine airings usually closely follows a stabbing, yeah. It's the amount of blood, Your Honor. An impalement doesn't leave much blood at the scene because the weapon acts as a stopper. I assumed the amount of blood at the scene was the result of the sword being jostled afterwards because the wound had been aggravated. But this knife turns that idea on its head. Yes, Chopin was stabbed in the heart from behind, but it was most likely with this knife. He collapsed on the floor dead, then the knife was removed, and his corpse was impaled with a sword on the same wound, leaving a mark on the floor. The sword was only then moved around, increasing the wound size and masking the initial knife's entry wound, while utterly soaking the floor in blood. It's a possibility. If I may, Your Honor, this may just be a possibility, but it's the possibility that makes the most sense to me. It explains the irregularities with the victim's substantial blood loss, the pattern of the wound, and the indentation on the floor. It might make medical sense, Dr. Sato, but the sequence of actions you've described are not those of a rational human. But wanting to frame Sosuke for the murder seems pretty reasonable, and stabbing the corpse with his katana would be the best way to do that. Yeah, they needed the katana to frame him. I think agreeing with Sato is the best course of action here because she is fully, on board with my reasoning. You make a strong argument, Dr. Sato. In order to frame my client for Chopin's death, they'd have to put his fingerprints on the murder weapon, the knife. They would need to stab this. I mean, I guess they could have. Oh. Yeah, but if you... if you killed him with the knife, then you could dispose of the knife, which would make him more likely for him to be, fucking... God damn it. Morgan, what are you getting at? You have it backwards. I guess it wouldn't be as easy, but it would be more effective. Swapping out the murder weapon and disposing of the knife is 2 to 4 times as much work. That many more chances to make a mistake. It's nonsensical. Stabbing Chopin's corpse with the katana didn't help them frame Sosuke. So what did it achieve? It made a big mess some poor schmuck would have to clean up. Not that you have to plant Sosuke's fingerprints on the knife. You hide the real killers by using something they didn't touch with their hand. Yeah, fair. The katana also works for that. Yeah, that's... Chopin's blood nearly destroyed... Oh! Chopin's blood nearly destroyed all the red ink docs at the scene. But who says that's a coincidence? What if Chopin was stabbed twice just so that his blood would cover up the red ink docs? I did not consider that. That actually makes a lot of sense. Because they were knocked onto the floor, but why would they have landed in such a neat pile underneath him? This is insane. Makes sense to me. No, not your logic for the stabbing. This idea of yours that Sharik Chopin was part of some kind of conspiracy to defraud the city. What, because somebody stabbed him a bunch while he was on top of the red ink documents? That makes him a conspirator? Agreed, that is insane. I believe just the opposite. What? Sharik Chopin was an unpopular, straight-laced political aspirant working as a cop only to improve his electability. His personality, his family, his goals, he'd have every reason to blow the whistle on Prop 492. And just get the whole project canceled? Leaving the lower wards in an underdeveloped lurch. A lot of people would hate to see that happen. A lot of blue bloods. But the son of 2 city councilmen wouldn't care, and an Icaria like my client would be actively rooting for it. You think Chopin was murdered just to cover up the fact that Prop 492 had been corrupted? If it was somebody who was loyal to the old guards who did it? Yes. Just all that money left on the table, all the future money coming down the line, that's a much better motive than... What was it you proposed exactly? That my client saw a police officer and would rather stab him than have to explain why he'd killed his captors? Something along those lines. So, like, what's going on now? Did Sosuke do it or not? That will be cleared up in very short order, Your Honor, with the help of our final witness. I still think it was the what is it? The hunter? What is it called? The headsman? So Yoru wasn't even really used to frame me. It was used to draw more blood from the wound to soak the papers? A very cold decision to make in the heat of the moment. Defiling a corpse just to protect investments. Huntsman. Okay. Colder than stabbing someone in the back? In some ways, that's way colder than stabbing someone in the back. What the fuck? It was me? Teeps, are you a huntsman employed by the old guard? Didn't think that was up for debate. Thank you for joining us once again, Officer Rogers. Oh my god, he's got a blue tie on! Kill him! No problem. Where is everybody, though? Well, after this shooting yesterday, I'd rather not risk the integrity of it or celerity of this trial to be rescreened by rescreening every member of the gallery when I've already cleared the room once. Celerity? Speed! Trial's gotta be fast, baby! And it takes everyone a while to find their spot in the stands again. We were almost caught in the line of fire not 24 hours ago, Officer Rogers, yourself included. Surely you don't find the lack of an audience to be intimidating? Nah, I guess not. Where do we leave off with this guy anyway? I believe that lawyer over there just accused my late partner of being on the take for the Blue Bloods. I was merely exploring a possibility raised by the witness's sworn statement, Your Honor. That he never heard any gunshots in the area himself. And I stand by that. Good. Does the defense have any questions for this witness, Your Honor? Or should we all continue to glare at one another for the rest of the day? Tempting, but I guess we better not. Your Honor, we ask that the witness testify once more about he and his partner arrived on the scene. Yeah, no problem. I'll repeat it as many times as you like. I'm gonna have to call you on that. Whistle? Oh, just the whistle? It was a quiet night, but then my partner heard gunshots. We headed for the nearest known Orca hotspot and arrived to find the building dead quiet. Door was locked. I checked the alley, but I didn't see another way in. So Chopin shot off the lock through the door and we entered. Followed some kind of loud music up the stairs. Then there was a slam and my partner bolted to the 3rd floor. About a minute later, I heard a thud from upstairs and came running. to find the defendant standing over my partner's dead body. Adonai, are you waiting for something, perhaps? Just savoring the moment, I suppose. There's only one thing to do at this point, and once I hit the trigger on it, things will really take off. Quit that already! As I've mentioned, I feel many times by now that is a very unpleasant tone, Adonai. Sorry. Butterfingers. Hasn't anyone ever told you it's poor taste to use the same trick twice? It's been a lot more than twice now. And besides, it's only an issue when it's used twice on the same audience. Speaking of which... somebody's on the take. You gonna answer that, Officer Rogers? Just to fill you in, officer, what I accidentally pressed just now is a whistle found at the scene of the crime. Weird coincidence that my little slip-up coincided with your phone vibrating. Can you read us the notification you received just now? Or should the court computer simply force open all your devices and splatter your data across the walls? Officer Rogers, you have a so-called receiver application installed on that device, do you not? Yes, I do. Is that in line with department guidelines and use of third-party software on state-provided devices? It's not breaking any regulations. Doesn't need to earn you any demerits to make you look guilty as sin. You and your partner, that is. Did Chopin also have the app installed? We can go check. If having that app on your phone makes you guilty of something, you'd have to arrest half the cops patrolling the lower wards. What do you mean? It's common knowledge that orcas use unconventional tactics to talk to one another. Flags on buildings, clothes left out on lines, smoke signals, probably even messenger pigeons. Where? Don't jump scare me like that. We've got to figure this statuesque, every pigeon is a disaster waiting to happen. Anyway, whistles like that one aren't uncommon. So is it common for members of the police department to try to listen in on the chatter of groups like the Blue Blood Mafia? Lower wards aren't a place a cop walks into without every weapon they can carry. Now that goes double for information. Didn't that come up in episode 1 too? What, the frequencies? Oh no, like pigeons pooping on the adjutant? Yeah, that was brought up. So there's nothing suspicious about his phone reacting to that horrible, horrible racket? I mean, there is, because he has the specific frequency. Pigeon hater. If pigeons pooped on me, I would also hate them. But I like them, because they don't poop on me. Adonai, have I had to put up with that noise for nothing? Not for nothing. The witness is correct, Your Honor. Especially because this is a signal that is very, very rarely used, if ever. There's nothing suspicious about having a receiver installed on any of your devices, even if you aren't a cop. What's incriminating is the fact that Officer Rogers' device responded to the specific frequency of this whistle. Sorry, officer, a little blue birdie already told the court that you needed to input a frequency in order to get alerts for it. Yeah, I know that. So does the whole force, in fact. What? I see. The hell is she reading over there? Officer Rogers, testify about this anonymous tip that the police department received last night. Aha! Oh, is this where the eye kid is gonna show up? Because she saw me? Haven't seen the submission myself, but it came through the department network straight to everyone's inboxes. Be advised, anonymous tips suggesting potential orca analog chatter at the frequency listed below. Patrol officers in lower wards use this information at your discretion. That's absurd. What's the point of informing every cop in the city about a secret communications channel? The Blue Bloods would find out their line is compromised within minutes. Would they? I don't know. I don't control how anonymous tips get handled. But as soon as you got an email telling you there might be criminal communications occurring at a random frequency, you tuned into it right away? To make it useless. Oh, that does make sense. Believe it or not, I'm a little concerned about criminal communications these days. Having seen my partner murdered by an orca right in front of me. Barely 24 hours before nearly getting shot myself. Back up, you saw the moment of your partner's death? That's news to the court. You know what I mean. Your Honor, the tip was submitted and the frequency was spread throughout the police department network, likely because the Blue Bloods believed it to be compromised, having already been used at the scene where 4 of their members died. Officer Rogers may have the receiver app on his phone, but so do many other police officers in this city. The app doesn't provide timestamps of when frequencies are added, so there's no proof of when his phone first started listening for the frequency. Neither he nor his partners were members of the organized crimes unit. Therefore, they had no criminal informants of their own, and they could not have obtained this frequency before the rest of the department. Since the defense cannot prove that this signal was acquired illegitimately, I never said I couldn't prove that. I mean, yeah, if there was, once again, no way for him to have heard a gunshot. I guess when did the thing come in? When did the frequency come in? Last night. Yeah, so there's no way he could have, like, heard anything. Oh, there was a traffic stop. Yeah. Found on tanks during frisk when we, yeah. The gun? What of it? Not just any gun. A Mag US, legally registered to Ankur Tan. And how do I know that? Because this gun was identified and scanned over a week ago, when Tanks was briefly... Right, because they didn't arrest him even though they should have because it broke his parole. I forgot about that. By some well-meaning officers on patrol. That report. Officers TC and HR reported the following: subject in possession of firearm in violation of parole. And subject in possession of suspect communication software installed on personal phone. He wrote all of that in the report? Yeah, because he was a straight-laced motherfucker who wasn't breaking any rules. You and your partner found the emergency frequency for Creek's Pod over a week ago by skimming Tank's phone. And sat on it until last night when you kindly dropped it off in the tip box. The hell are you even saying? Why would we frisk a perp, get good intel, and keep it to ourselves? The same reason you didn't arrest him. For the same reason your partner might report a generic shots heard over the police network when he already knew exactly where to look. The same reason he'd be ecstatic at finding documents on Prop 492 at the site of an Orca bloodbath. You wanted your gold stars. You wanted to be first on the scene at the site of a blue blood massacre. Counsel is badgering, Your Honor. Oh, fuck. Oh, fuck, this is an Emma theme if I've ever heard one. And losing her meager thread of logic in the process. The previous witness testified that there was, in fact, a silent alarm that night. A silent alarm that needs to be actively pressed. It could only have gone out before Creek's heart stopped. Said witness responded to the alarm by traveling on foot, and he had arrived well before Rogers and Chopin. The lower words are maze-like. She could have been closer. The whistle has a limited range over which it can be received. You proposed that Officer Rogers and Chopin were within that limited range at 9:45 p.m., yes? Obviously you do, or else they would have never received that frequency at all. So if person H is on foot and individual R is in a police car, and they both receive a signal at the same time, and a train leaves Appletown at 3 p.m., that seems like an irrelevant factor. All the court... I appreciate the stop in the music for that gag. All the court need consider is this. How could Officer Rogers and Chopin have possibly arrived later than someone traveling on foot if all three were within that range? Well, first of all, they might have been farther. Second of all, they needed to report it. And third of all, they might have needed to decide if they wanted to respond to it. Can't believe I told my geometry teacher that none of this would ever be useful. This is a geometry, damn it. Yeah, I'm good at geometry. It's just logic. The fact is they did arrive later than Han. If I'm right about the motivation for Chopin's actions that night, he was sitting on a police car and suddenly got a notification telling him some blue bloods were having a life or death emergency. How did he react in that moment? Do I have evidence? Evidence explaining exactly how Chopin proceeded to the crime scene? How he proceeded to the crime scene. It'd be a testimony, right? Do we not have any other testimony recorded in here? Evidence explaining how Chopin proceeded to the crime scene. I don't think I have anything like that. Yeah, I don't think I have any evidence for that. Regretfully, Your Honor, we do not have such evidence in our possession. But fortunately, Your Honor, we live in a surveillance police state. Yeah, there we go. Pardon? And that makes it pretty easy to surveil police officers. The officers' patrol car, their cell phones, traffic cameras, and optics data. I could request any of it. Hell! Your Honor, I formally subpoenaed all of it. What? What? Can she do that? Yes, she can, actually. She can subpoena whatever data she might need. But also it would make this fucking trial take 1 billion years. I'm not sure. I'm still learning. Reyes' drunken swipe at my front door reminded me exactly how much power the police have. It was her dutiful checking in that made me realize just how hard it is to lose a cop in this city. Whatever it takes to answer this question for the court. After Officer Chopin reported that he heard shots fired at 9:45 p.m. Exactly how long did he and his partner do donuts in the parking lot before actually driving off to the scene? Also, like, if you want glory, yeah. But you want to make sure you arrive after everybody's dead and not while there's still a shootout happening, you know? Kind of a big ask from the defense, but it's entirely doable. Do the people object? The people of course, object to any data collection effort that would be a waste of taxpayers' money or a violation of their privacy. So we would prefer that the range of this request be narrowed somewhat. Narrowed, perhaps, from everything to something. Happy to do that, Your Honor. I promise not to act like a kid in a candy shop when browsing through. If you do this, if you subpoena that data, you'll just see me driving like a lethargic moron. Officer Rogers? He did the Ace Attorney thing. He's doing the Ace Attorney thing. He seems different. He put on his professional hat. Hardly recognize him. Agreed, but I recognize his type. Soldier. Your Honor, what the defense is suggesting is largely accurate. Pardon? That's a first. Though there are some corrections I feel I should make at this time. No objections here? Officer Chopin is the one who discovered the frequency when we approached apprehended Encartan. He entered into both of our receiver apps at that time without my knowledge. It wasn't until the night in question that he chose to inform me of the intel he had obtained, and how he planned on acting on it. Oh, he's acting on orders now. This is coach testimony. Because he's a soldier. At 9:45 p.m., we received a signal. Before I could react, he had put out a notice on the police network that he had heard gunshots. It was at this time that he told me to drive towards the Blue Blood territory. As he started to explain to me what he believed we would find, I chose, but not coached by Emma. Of course not coached by Emma. Emma legitimately wants to find the truth. She wouldn't coach a witness to take a suboptimal route. We spent several minutes in traffic as he berated me for my sense of direction. So you both knew the silent alarm would lead you to some kind of blue blood emergency. That isn't true, Katie. Did she coach a witness? But only you realized that meant you should take your time getting there. Logically, a silent alarm is triggered during a confrontation. She doesn't care about truth. She said as much. I mean, does she not care about truth? Her whole thing is that there's no way for her personally to just uncover the truth, so she just needs to go as hard as possible. She wants to hammer every nail put in front of her. I mean, I guess that is fair, but that is not all. Is that not all in the pursuit of truth? Like, that's what this whole thing is supposed to be. She just goes as hard as possible and expects me to go as hard as possible so we can find the actual, like, result. Logically, a silent alarm is triggered during a confrontation, not afterwards. I had no desire to walk to the crossfire of an orca gunfight without backup. See, there it is. That's what I was waiting for. You could have had backup, easily. My partner had no desire to share our intel or how we obtained it. I apologize to the court, Your Honor, for being evasive or misleading during these proceedings, and I intend to take full responsibility for doing so. I don't think Of the Devil is that kind of game. That was just kind of like the whole gist of what like the whole opening in episode 1 was, at least as far as I read it. But I was not eager to admit the role of my own cowardice played in these events, nor would I have ever want to imply that Officer Chopin was responsible in any way for his own murder. Very warm sentiments from the officer, delivered with a voice as cozy as ice water. So you're telling the court that you and your partner arrived at what you expected to be a bloodbath, and you still shot the lock off the door and started stomping around inside while separated from one another? Respectfully, ma'am, with the route I took and the time it took for us to arrive, we expected to find all targets neutralized. And that expectation was reinforced when we arrived on the street and found the whole vicinity dead quiet. Yet we were still the first ones on the scene despite my stalling for time. I think that might have enthused my partner. He was excited and I let him set the pace. It's my deepest regret that I agreed with his request to split up. First to arrive on the scene, we know that wasn't the case. A blue blood got there well before you and your partner. That's what you were talking about? The witness wasn't present for that individual's testimony. He's merely giving the facts as he knows them. And he can't have known that there was a blue blood in the building. On the contrary, he already testified about encountering them yesterday, as they made a not-so-silent retreat down into the alley. That was a blue blood making all that racket? I see. My partner Chopin, he shouted that there was someone scrambling around down in the alley not long before he was killed. He must have opened the windows on the 3rd floor to check. I mean, that does track. That's a new detail, Officer Rogers. Pardon me if I failed to mention it yesterday. He was fucking coached on the windows opening thing. It occurs to me that you weren't present in the courtroom when this other curious detail was brought to light. The fact that there was another weapon at the scene of the crime. A bloody knife, which somehow ended up down in the dumps. Know anything about that? No, ma'am, I do not. Playing dumb? Wrong move. But I do know scientists is a bunch of amateurs with conflicting priorities. Explain this to the court, then. Forensic analysis has already shown that this knife was the murder weapon used to stab Miller, getting a healthy amount of his blood on it in the process. It's also been established that this knife must have been what my client used to cut his own bindings. If you say so. The evidence says so. If the defense isn't interested in asking the witness questions, perhaps they'll answer mine. What does that have to do with Officer Rogers? Everything, of course. Allow me to show you why. Yeah, if he was arrested with the cut on his left hand, that means he escaped. I'm trying to put forward that they had to get rid of the knife because it wasn't on Arcs when Reyes arrived. Healthy about his blood in the process and established a knife he used to cut his own bindings. It could also be the massive head wound. That's true. Your client's medical data. He cut himself on his finger with that knife trying to get out of his bindings. And how does that relate to Officer Rogers? No, what? Fucking come on. Morgan. Can't get rid of me that easily. Okay, fucking fine. We know for a fact that Sosuke had to use that knife to cut his bonds, and Detective London has testified that Officer Rogers apprehended Sosuke alone. So why can't the officer who apprehended the man last known to be using this knife tell us how it ended up in the alley? That is the same thing I was trying to prove with the cut on his hand. But Morgan decided to go the route of just being like, you should have offered him first aid, I guess. That is a question well worth asking the witness. I have no idea what you're talking about. When I found your client, he had the Mag US and he had the sword. The sword he had stuck through my partner. This knife you're talking about? Where'd you find it? In the trash. Drum. Down in the alley? Well, then some crime scene tech idiot must have thrown it out thinking it was bio-waste. Yes, but it wasn't on Arcs, dumbass. Or some scientist lackey tossed it as a prank. I would know. Because I spent hours being debriefed in that room on the 3rd floor while they set up the Arcs. I spent all night in a room with my partner's corpse. Never took a trip down to empty the recycling bin. We know the knife was with Sosuke at one point. We know it ended up down in the alley later. So it stands to reason that someone had to walk it downstairs and out of the building. If Rogers never left that room all night, then someone else must have moved it. Zero points for you. 0 points again. All that processing power and you can't manage to think in 3D? It doesn't matter if Officer Rogers stayed in that room all night, Your Honor. All anyone needed to do to dispose of the knife was step out onto the fire escape and drop the knife down into the barrel waiting below. No need to leave the 3rd floor. No need to leave the crime scene at all, Officer Rogers. What kind of trick shot bullshit are you talking about? That is a long drop, Your Honor. A straight drop. Gravity's convenient like that. The target was a small drum in a dark alley. Said drum was burning when the police arrived. The target would have been plainly lit, and I've taken both your arguments into consideration. After much deliberation, I've come to the conclusion that the proposed method of removing the knife from the 3rd floor is not actually that hard to do. Assuming a modicum of hand-eye coordination, a basic understanding of Newtonian physics. Well, obviously, couldn't anyone manage that? Practice martial artists who are masters of every muscle in their body, individuals like yourself, and me, might find it hard to relate, but there are some who would struggle with the task. Yeah, not someone who... yourself and I. Wait, hand-eye coordination? Also, fucking, like... anybody who passed the police physical, presumably? Eloquently put, Your Honor. So you must agree that someone with hand-eye coordination, that they hold the record for the worst marksmanship in the entire police department. Someone with such poor aim that they opted to physically assault a target rather than shoot them. Someone like that might find it impossible to pull that off. Fuck. Balls. Are you talking about me? She's talking about me, Your Honor. Roger's the klutz who breaks everything, remember? Would you like to see a movie after we're both off work? That could be fun. Yeah, but how hard is it to be bad at shooting if you're actually good at shooting? And while I find her tone unflattering, none of what she said is false. Apologies that dropping the knife from the fire escape didn't occur to me as a possibility. It just must be that for me personally, such a method of compromising a crime scene is not only unthinkable, it's impossible. All the stupid details to come and bite me in the ass, the piss-poor aim that London mentioned. Is it possible that Officer Rogers faked his poor aim at the academy? It's easy to not hit your target, but why would he intentionally flunk his shooting test years ago to give himself such a strange alibi here today? He didn't flunk his test. He got the very lowest score you could possibly get while still being certified. It would take a really good shot to aim for that specific mark. Good lord, you'd have to be trying to... If his goal was to receive the exact minimum number of points needed to pass, his margin of error would actually be much smaller than anyone simply doing their best. But then, what about when he first saw me? It's true that any other cop who saw me standing over their dead partner would have just unloaded. Instead, he ran up and hit me. If he's not actually that bad of a shot, why am I still alive? Because the the old guard want you alive. We've been over this. That's the story Rogers has been telling so far, that he instinctually didn't bother to fire. His gun wasn't discharged and Sosuke's got the bruises, so we accepted that line of reasoning. But if I assume he's more dangerous than he's led us to believe, why wouldn't he have just shot Sosuke when he had the chance? He could have told his fellow officers whatever story he liked afterwards, and we wouldn't even be having this trial. I feared for my life, that's all he'd need to say. Under what circumstances would it have been impossible for him to claim that? Your Honor, I'm reminded just now that my client and the witness were in a physical altercation. I apprehended the murder suspect, yes. Surely you aren't suggesting I used unreasonable force? If anything, you used unreasonably little. Not at all, but I imagine things happened fairly fast. Isn't it possible that a knife on Sosuke's person may have been knocked away into a corner during that moment? What are you... It may have. I can't say that I would have necessarily noticed something clattering onto the floor while I was trying to cuff a violent perp. Perhaps, Your Honor, the witness ought to testify about everything he recalls from the moment he confronted my client. Jogging the memory might be the only way we can address these gaps in our knowledge. No objections. Then let's hear it. Good versus evil, man versus machine, cop versus robber. I'm not a machine. Or a robber. Don't worry, Sosuke. If need be, Ad and I would go through the whole trial just to prove you're a machine. What kind of joke is that? It's not one. She did that in the first episode. When that blue blood fled down the fire escape into the alley, I poked my head out the second floor window. But then I heard a sickening thump from above on the third floor where I knew my partner was. Reflexively, I drew my service weapon and rushed up the stairs, where I saw this defendant standing over my partner's dead body. I was shocked, but he was clearly injured and the sword was stuck, so before I knew it, I was running at him. He turned to me with dull shock just as I whipped my pistol butt into his forehead. Yeah, that's the issue there. He collapsed after that, and the room was a mess. My blood was pumping. If he had dropped a knife at that time, I wouldn't have noticed it. Despite his change in posture, he's still telling the same story. Yeah, he hasn't changed his tune, but he is giving more detail than ever before. And one of those details is about to bite him in the ass. Second floor window. Heard a sickening thump. Reflexively drew my service weapon. I was shocked, but he was clearly injured and the sword was stuck, so before I knew it, I was running at it. No, shit, not that one. Fuck. I ballsed it up. No, none of those. No. I fucking ballsed it up. I picked the one right before that one I was supposed to take. You know, it just occurred to me. That cats are cute? We already know! I'm trying not to belabor that point, Your Honor. That was sloppy. I know! I know, I'm sorry. I got too trigger happy. I'm sorry. The colors in this game are so good. The colors are great. It's this one. Trigger happy as the other one. Yeah. Yeah, Danganronpa also, like, aesthetically, especially in the trial, like, in the trial specifically, looks good as fuck. Sounds very brave, Officer Rogers, but that's physically impossible. How could you have knocked my client out with one strike to the forehead when it was the back of his head that was injured? What are you talking about? Yesterday he had bruises across his entire body. An exaggeration that doesn't hold up to the scrutiny of his actual medical record. Largest wound found on the crown of head. The crown, as in the top of the back of the head. The butt of a pistol leaves a surprisingly specific impression on the human body, Officer Rogers. I assume Dr. Sato is still in the building. Perhaps we should call her back and have her examine my client on the stand. Sosuke, you'll have to remove your shirt. To get my head checked? That would be a waste of time, Your Honor. Counselor Morgan has taken advantage of some rather vague wording on the medical record to make her argument. Largest wound. But the fact is the defendant was covered in various bruises all over his body when he was taken into custody, including on the front of his skull. She's not wrong. I still remember every ache. It's entirely possible that when Officer Rogers struck the defendant on the forehead, the blow was glancing, but still hard enough to knock the defendant backwards, and had fallen backwards hard. He very easily could have sustained a large wound to the crown of his head at the moment he hit the ground. Respectfully, Your Honor, that's ultimately not something either the people nor the defense are experts on. But even if we were, neither of us could examine wounds that are no longer visible. Sosuke's injuries, they've mostly healed as of this morning. Hope that injection helped you sleep really well last night, Sosuke. Your Honor, as I see it, either we could extend this trial indefinitely with both of the people and the defense flying an X-ray specialist, and contusion analysis to argue back and forth about fracture lines. Or we could accept the events more or less took place as the witness described. He hit the defendant on the head, and then the defendant fell backwards onto the floor. If the head wound's open to interpretation, then... He didn't fall backwards, right? He fell forwards. London's testimony. Already apprehended the suspect. So what are we arguing? Medical data doesn't support Roger's story. Medical data could support Roger's story. What was it? There was medical records. At the time of booking, numerous additional injuries were noted, which is this. I'm gonna call it. Forget expert witnesses. Let's all just look at the medical data with our own two peepers. Peepers? Officer Rogers claims that Sosuke was hit on the forehead and fell backwards, but what would he have fallen onto? In that room? Probably blood and guts. Yuck. You're exactly right. All kinds of firsts happening in the courtroom today. He would have gotten blood all across his back. But that's not how he looked when he was arrested. The medical report clearly states he has blood on the front of his body. telling us that Sosuke could only have fallen forward. And what of it? Maybe he did. Maybe he turned his head while trying to dodge. Things happen fast. Don't try to bullshit a bullshitter. Fast enough that you may have, in fact, actually struck my client from behind? Yeah, maybe. Took him by surprise when he was no threat to you? What? No. Easy targeted knockout at that point. Makes sense why you wouldn't use lethal force in that scenario. No, he was... That guy's got nearly a full head on me. True. I don't deny it. Which makes it highly unlikely the witness could have simply hit him on the crown. If things happened as you say and he had the element of surprise, he would have simply aimed for the easiest target possible. The one easiest to reach, the center or bottom of the skull. Not quite. Excuse me? I never said my client was standing up when this happened. You mean he was asleep? No. Considering that he was struck in the crown of his head, it's obvious that at the time, Sosuke Ikaria was... bent over, probably. My client must have been bent over. He was bent over while the witness came from behind and... Adonai. What? Why are you interrupting me now? Because I thought you would want to know you were about to phrase things in a way that would sound very silly. Really? What are you talking about? Sarah's right, Morgan. You should let her take this one. What? It was when Sosuke bent over to pick up Yoru. Oh, that's why you were correcting me. That's when Officer Rogers struck Sosuke on his crown. Yeah. As I've said, the one thing I do remember besides walking out there was picking up my sword. Picking it up off the ground. Having your android argue the weaker points for you now, counselor? Yeah, I was gonna say that, whatever. Not exactly the bravest tactic. Tactics are for freshening your breath. No, it's the other way around. What can you claim is weak about the argument? Positioning. Your client really had walked out of the holding room and was then immediately hit from behind. Where could his assailant have possibly been standing? Sosuke had to get out of his bindings first and then push open the door. And he wouldn't have been concerned with keeping quiet as he went. There would have been plenty of time for someone to hear him rummaging around in there and figure out where they could hide. In the corner of the room, here. You, like Morgan, do not have the Fujo mindset. Yeah, I guess that's true. That doesn't work. If that was the case, your client would have fallen face first here. But instead, he was apprehended here, at the center of the room. Hey, makes sense to me. Looks like he dropped like a sack of potatoes by the door, sure. But then he was dragged to the center of the room. Would explain the streaks of blood we can see were discovered on the floor. So those weren't left by him gliding his feet in order to move silently? I was hoping to learn that technique. Your Honor, I fear the defense may not realize the weight of the implication that her statement carries. If, as she claims, Sosuke Ikaria was knocked unconscious by Officer Rogers the moment he walked out into the room, then my client never had any opportunity to stab Therese Chopin in the back, and the only remaining individual who could possibly have killed him would be me. Yes, any thoughts on that, officer? There's one thought that's been frustrating me for some time, actually. One I expected the prosecutor to voice, but perhaps I misjudged her. You what? None of what you're saying makes any sense. You say I hid in the corner, surprised Sosuke, and then I what? Snuck up on Chopin? How could I do any of that if I was downstairs at the time Chopin was killed? At the time Sosuke killed him. It's not that the thought hadn't occurred to Emma, you idiot. It's that once I address this point, your entire testimony falls apart, and the truth of the case becomes crystal clear. There's no misunderstanding on my part, and I suspect none on the part of the people, either. Because the truth is, when you and your partner arrived, you must have immediately... Yeah, if he is corrupt, then he would have taken the lead. And he was lying about Chopin wanting to move up first. You were the one who took point, not your partner. She doesn't care. She wants to win. That's fair. Excuse me? Chopin shot open the lock. Sure, I believe that. He was the one all gung-ho about coming there anyway. But after entering, you went ahead of him while he covered you. What? You already told us you wanted to stall, wait for backup. Chopin charged forward, you couldn't slow him down. But if you went first, you could go as slowly as you liked, and Chopin would be forced to match your pace. You were the one who cleared the room and shouted down that everyone was dead. I told you, I testified. So did your blue blood tail, testified all about how you and your partner separated on the second floor. Objection, mischaracterization of testimony. The witness of the defense they're referring to did encounter 2 officers, but the witness never identified either of them. The blue blood didn't need to. All they were waiting to hear was whether any blue bloods were alive. So after Rogers shouted down to Chopin that everyone was dead, they bolted out the second floor window. And when Chopin shouted that someone was in the alley, Officer Rogers opened the windows behind Creek's body to try and spot the runner. Then he ran down the fire escape to try and follow them, only to give up when he saw there was no ladder to get down with. It's entirely possible that Chopin yelled that someone was in the alley from the 3rd floor. The scene of the crime is soundproof, remember? No one in that room would notice a commotion in the alley unless they'd already opened the windows to check it. So since Chopin yelled about it, he had to have been the officer who stayed on the 2nd floor. This blue blood rat of yours just misheard. Or they're lying. There's no proof of any of this. Yes, there is, officer. So the proof that Chopin was the one on the 3rd floor. Was called up, opened the windows to look down the fire escape, went down the fire escape. The paper, I think, right? Because it proves that the person on the 3rd floor went down to the 2nd floor. That scrap of paper was found by the 2nd floor windowsill. But it's not just any scrap of paper. It matches the red ink documents that were found where the pod died. And it happens to have a partial boot print on it, proving that someone stomped from the crime scene, down the fire escape, and into the 2nd floor. That doesn't prove anything. Your own client could have left that boot print. My client was arrested barefoot, remember? You should. You did the arresting. Then maybe Chopin. If Chopin was the one who brought the scrap down from the 3rd floor, that would put him behind you. I mean, you couldn't have walked in on him being attacked by Sosuke. Ugh. Counselor, even if we accept that Rogers was on the 3rd floor and then moved down to the 2nd, the sequence you're describing ends with both officers reunited on the 2nd floor, with neither of them dead. But obviously Chopin did proceed to the 3rd floor because that's where he was killed. And who would be behind him? So now we're back to where we started. Back where we started, you're forgetting one key detail in this new sequence of events. At the time the officers reunited on the 2nd floor, my client was already unconscious. Meaning the only person who had a chance to kill Officer Chopin was, in fact... None of this shit matters. This lawyer's trying to accuse me of killing my partner? That doesn't make any goddamn sense. Why would I do something like that? Depends. What? Depends where you live. Not uptown, I assume? What's it to you? Single bedroom. Yeah, whatever. Not great. Excuse me? And having to ride around all day with some insufferable, spoiled rich stick in the mud? Knowing the whole time that your job, your whole goddamn police department, it was all just a bullet point in his resume. Counselor is badgering the witness in lieu of making an actual argument. Apologies, Your Honor. I'll state the motive plainly. Prop 492 was corrupt. Blue Bloods and worse would profit off of it at the city's expense. But it would also bring economic relief and badly needed repairs to lower wards. It might also stop the canopy from, you know, just falling down and crushing everyone who lives there. But a climber like Chopin wouldn't care about any of that. Every photo I've seen of this guy, he had a big, stern frown. But I'll bet he was grinning ear to ear when he found that red ink. It must have made you sick to your stomach. So you killed him. And then you bled him like a pig to try and destroy the documents he would have plastered all over town. You're crazy. That's not possible. Do you think you'll get the chance to vote on it at the end? Maybe. Do the people have anything to add? Emma hates losing, but she's not stupid. She must be getting sick of having to cover for this. Officer Rogers. You were the one who entered the 3rd floor first, weren't you? What's she doing? Yes. How long were you there before your partner alerted you to someone escaping through the alley? More than 2 minutes, less than 3. You had a chance to start looking the room over? Yes. And did you see anything as politically explosive as what the defense has described? No, nothing of the sort. Your Honor, the witness is blatantly lying. We know the documents were there, and we know Chopin found them because they were found underneath his corpse. And it is the defense's theory that he was killed because of those documents. Because he would have tried to make them public, essentially? Yes. That's the defense's proposed motive for this man to kill his partner. Yes? I see. But why would he be prepared to kill his partner for reading documents left out on a desk when he had over 2 minutes to simply get rid of them beforehand? Oop. A damn good question, Your Honor. Do we have an answer for it? I'm getting there. I'll get there. Because it wasn't hit... Because killing him was not... Like, that was not the motive. I'm close. His layers are falling off. This is a cold guy. Cold enough to walk into that room, knock out Sosuke, and start calmly looking around. So is he lying? Did he actually see those papers? No, Emma's right. If the papers were in plain view, he'd just have tucked them into his jacket. If the papers were in plain view... Were they? I don't remember. Where the hell did I put them if not on the desk? I remember taking them out of Creek's safe and thinking they were nothing important, so I just... Probably how one page got left where it could stick to the bottom of Roger's booze. But before I left, I reorganized them, tried to make it seem like I was never there, so I stacked things neatly. Yoo-hoo, counselor! Any cuckoos in or around the nest? Pardon me, Your Honor, I was simply overthinking, to be honest. Officer Rogers didn't dispose of the red ink when he had the chance because he didn't notice the red ink. It's that simple. A simple answer to a simple question that simply doesn't measure up. If Officer Rogers didn't notice the red ink docs in the 2 minutes he had with the scene, how did his partner discover them so quickly? Neither of them were looking for illicit government documents at the site of a gang shooting. Neither of them would want to start disturbing a crime scene when there were bodies and blood all around them. Legend of Zelda stream when? I don't know. I don't really play Legend of Zelda games. Correct. Rationally, neither officer would want to start making a mess of the scene. Something must have simply caught Officer Chopin's eye. Very bad luck on his part, as it turns out. I mean, if you saw a paper with Prop 492 on it, then he would notice. You've got to be... What the hell are you talking about? What could it have been? Sounds like a tough question to answer, but there aren't as many possibilities to sift through as you'd think, Your Honor. Because it would have to have been something that caught Officer Chopin's eye, yet not that of his partner. In other words, something at the scene that Officer Rogers wouldn't recognize. Your Honor. Yeah, because they sponsored it, right? Yeah, his dad's names were on it, and his name by extension. If the officers knew that this was the site of an orca violence from the silent alarm, and there was blood and corpses all over the damn place, and if the red ink docs were not in plain sight amidst all that carnage, what could possibly have drawn Officer Chopin's attention to them? If I needed to retrace if I need to retrace Chopin's steps specifically, was there anything in the evidence record that he left a trace on? That he left his trace on? Well, there was Yoru. He has his blood is on that. Oh, known only to rich and criminals. The dark card. He's a rich boy. When Rogers first entered the crime scene, he must have seen Creek's data pad resting on top of some papers. You think the Reddick documents were beneath the data pad at the time? That might explain why Rogers didn't notice them, but that's only half an answer. Then how's this? It wasn't the data pad that drew Chopin's attention, Your Honor. It was the dark card that was stuck inside of it. The dark card? Seems a little more than fancy credit card to you or I, but if you're rich enough, it's an unmistakable sign of powerful forces at play. Exactly the kind of thing that would put a gleam in the eyes of the politically ambitious Officer Chopin. Right up until the moment he saw the bombshell hidden underneath the data pad. Your Honor, this speculation... Good job. I don't know if I would have got it. They specifically mentioned that he was spoiled rich a little bit ago, which is why it caught my eye. Chopin's prints were discovered on the data pad, Your Honor. We know he must have picked it up. And that data pad was found by police on the desk, so we know he must have put it down. I'm merely proposing that he didn't put it back down in the exact same spot. Just because this dark card happened... Hey, seriously. What the hell have you been talking about? What the shit is a dark card? Cryptographically anonymous wallet card in that rich people use to buy illegal drugs and gifts for their mistresses. Not common knowledge, unusually ran in circles as high up as the city council. Oh. Yeah, you're right. I didn't know that. Never heard of that. I assumed you were being literal. It is a dark card. Yeah, to be honest, it wouldn't surprise me. Chopin going around picking up whatever he wanted at a crime scene without even radioing in first? Sounds about right. Bare hands, mouth breathing. Guy was big on following the rules, just wasn't that good at remembering any of them. Not me, though. I remember every rule. Follow them, too. Partner breaks a body cam, I request a new one. Let him use mine. Stop him from getting sued by the next pump he bumps into. It was a real risk for him. He had money. People would sue him if they could. No one would try to sue Huey Rogers. Only thing the judge could award them would be my own goddamn debts. I don't think I'm bad with money, just bad with debt. I never seem to get rid of this stuff. But even I'm not so stupid that I wouldn't wear gloves at a goddamn crime scene. You mean... Obviously, counselor. From the minute we pulled up in that building until I was relieved from duty and sent home the next morning, I was wearing gloves. 3 stories in an alleyway, and I can swear on my parents' graves I didn't contaminate 1 millimeter of it. I didn't put my greasy fingerprints on the windows, the doors, the murder weapons. You'd never know I was ever there. You can say I did this, or claim I did that, but the city's only ever gonna hear that some Icarian bastard killed a bunch of blue blood punks, and that Tariq Chopin died a hero trying to save the day. Right. Adonai, is that true? Is that possible? After all of this, is it possible that... But the jury, surely they can see... The jury will to see what the adjutant decides they need to see in order to properly render their verdict. The adjutant comes to the conclusion that a witness or a line of questioning would only serve to confuse the jury. 80! Your Honor, the jury... Give me a second to think here, girl. I'm trying to build consensus, and basically everyone's mad. So maybe the adjutant rules in our favor, maybe the jury sees things our way, but there are no guarantees. After all that, it just comes down to a gamble. Always does. Yeah. But you still get a chance to sculpt your hand, and I can do a lot better than this pile of shit. I just have to take my licks first. Your Honor, I disagree. About what, exactly? About all of it. About everything! Look, we know someone moved from the 3rd floor to the 2nd floor via the fire escape because of that scrap of paper. which would have put them in perfect position to walk up behind Chopin. And we know Chopin picked up the data pad because his fingerprints are on it. So we can reason Chopin was investigating the desk before he died. And, of course, we know he died reading the Reading documents because, duh, his body was found collapsed on top of him. Put that all together and... nothing. You still have nothing. Nothing except circumstantial evidence tying this witness to the theoretical sequence of events. Emma, did you get hit on the head too? What? We have Officer Rogers' fingerprints on the murder weapon. What? They'll never go all in unless they think your hand is crap. Put on a show. They just want me to throw garbage. They want me to throw garbage so that it taunts Emma into going all in so we can get something we can prove. Paper, his prints were on the pistol used to bludgeon my client, of course. What do you... No, they aren't. As he said, he was wearing gloves. Also, that gun was never fired. What are you talking about? Now that you mention it, yeah. Shoot, did I get my notes mixed up? That's right, the bat! Did you think we wouldn't notice you left your fingerprints on it just because it was broken into splinters? The baseball bat used on Trey? Forensics failed to pull a single print from that. Is this your idea of a joke? Jeez, take it easy, I misspoke a little. Also, I don't have my reading glasses. What? The Mag US that was used to kill Tanks Creek. Pretty stupid to forget to wipe your prints off a piece that gaudy, don't you think? Counselor, what is this? Are you throwing a tantrum? Making a mockery of the courtroom? The only prints on the gun belong to Sosuke Ikaria. Oh. Sorry, guess I was thinking of another case? Is there perhaps a gas leak on the other side of the courtroom? The blade. Well, don't I feel stupid? What I've been trying to say is Officer Rogers failed to notice that he left his fingerprints on the most important weapon of all. The very blade that took his partner's life. And then he's gonna get mad, and he's gonna say that it was a knife, basically. Because I said blade, and anyone who didn't know what happened would think I'm talking about the katana, because that was only revealed today. Enough of this embarrassment. What the hell's wrong with you? I knew a mob lawyer would be corrupt and vile, but how can you be such a stupid bimbo? Do you think we're all idiots? My fingerprints aren't on the goddamn knife, and you know it. There it is. My mistake. I can see here that, yes, I was misreading the fine details, and it does appear that your fingerprints are not on that knife. Sorry. You... Oh, dear. What? Yeah, see, there you go. What? What is it? Oh, I guess we're all just wondering. How long have you known it was this knife that was used to kill your partner? What? Also bimbo mention. I know, derogatory bimbo? In this house? Man, you're getting the death penalty. Confused. So are these two. Because like you, neither of them were in the courtroom when Dr. Sato updated her autopsy report. So I knew that Chopin was killed with a knife. And the people knew that Chopin was killed with a knife. But how did you know that? There must have been 50 cops in here when that doctor... Far fewer than 50, actually. More like 0. We had already emptied the courtroom by then, a courtesy we extended to a blue blood witness. You... For some blue blood rat. You crazy harpy! Trying to trick me at the last second? You think I walked here unprepared? No, of course not. She, right there, Rockford, the prosecutor. Before I took the stand, she told me all about the knife. Ah, so that's your plan. Right, Rockford? Before I came out here, didn't you? It's always great to reveal a full house and rake in the pot. It's even better to reveal a handful of shit you bluffed your way to victory with. Say something already! Just say it! But every now and then, a different kind of victory comes along. Or you just get to sit back and watch someone else self-destruct because they completely misread the dealer. Say it! Say that you... Shut up! What? Just shut up. Is that so hard? Are my instructions unclear? Do you need me to salute you first? Stop talking. You are completely, utterly, 100% guilty. Why the hell would I perjure myself to help you? But, hey, start counting. Because from this second on, every word that comes out of your mouth adds directly to the number of years you're going to rot in jail. Unless those words are your confession. He's the Hound of Icaria. He murders for the mob. We could put him away. They don't want to put him away. Not for your crime. Not for murdering the son of 2 city councilmen. Have you lost your goddamn mind? But he's a murderer. Well, not all murderers are created equally. Well, not all murderers are hunted equally. Neobility assassinating each other? Let it ride. Keeps them divided. Orcas fighting the lower wards? Let them sort it out. Keeps their numbers down. A monster shoots 6 women in the heart and leaves no evidence behind. Call us back when he kills someone important. Strange. Once she's properly infuriated, there's usually no stopping her. Well, she's not going to twist the knife herself. I shouldn't let it go to waste. Your Honor, if the witness is having trouble choosing a place to start for his confession, perhaps I might help by laying out the details for him. You sadistic bitch! Hey, that's you! He was counting on Emma to step in. Now he's sliding down the rocky face of despair, fingernails split and bloody as he attempts in vain to slow the descent. Not very dignified, so I won't leave him hanging. I'll be happy to speed him along. In summary, a week ago you acquired a blue blood distress signal when you arrested Tanks, but your partner insisted on letting him go and keeping the code to yourself. You killed 6 women, misogynist? No, she's just gay and frustrated. And, you know, psychotic, but, like, that's a whole different can of beans. So the night of the murder, when the alarm went out, like, they all also look like Emma. Like, she just has a psychosexual obsession with this woman. So the night of the murder, when the alarm went out, he jumped at the chance to be the first unit on the scene at what could be a gang shootout. So am I. She's not special. You did all you could to stall, but your partner pressed on and even shot open the door in his hurry to get into the locked building. Yeah, she's not a misogynist. She's just a murderer. Let's not get it twisted. You made up an excuse to keep him on the 2nd floor and proceeded to the 3rd on your own, relieved that everyone was already dead, and puzzled by the delirious Sosuke who you knocked out with 1 blow to the back of his head. But by calling down to your partner to convince him you were already too late, you alerted an orca hiding downstairs. And when they fled out the window down into the alley, you opened the windows at the crime scene to give chase. While you were scanning the alley from the 2nd floor fire escape, your partner proceeded upstairs, where he was just as stunned as you were, but intrigued by the presence of a dark card you'd never recognized. He knew that it pointed towards the involvement of powerful parties. It was simply bad luck that he found the red ink before you. But he must have felt like he'd won the lottery. He was the one man in the city who'd benefit the most from exploding the corruption it hinted at. He must have been salivating at the opportunity right in front of you, standing in the blood without a second thought. You had taken the knife from Sosuke, hadn't even thought about it up until that point. You knew that once the rest of the force arrived, there'd be no stopping the red ink from getting on the record. You had one chance to blot it out for good. That's all a lie, just smoke and mirrors, tricks and guesswork. The Hound of Icaria is standing right there next to you. The Blue Bloods themselves even tried to kill him right in front of all of us. No, they didn't. Excuse me? I have it on very good authority. The Blue Bloods wouldn't want my client assassinated. I really did call it as soon as we met this guy. Yeah, I also didn't think this guy was the murderer, so good on that. Good on you. Like, I also wouldn't have, like, pointed the finger at this guy. Oh, I'm sure. So considering where the shooter was and the direction he was aiming, the only person he could have been aiming at would be, well... you! What the hell are you talking about? Seems like the old guard wanted to make sure there'd be a swift punishment for letting Prop 492 blow up. So you can keep protesting your innocence if you want. It might work out. And you might be able to avoid the next Blue Blood to come after you. And the next after that. You might survive just long enough to end up being the only casualty in a tragically unavoidable case of friendly fire. Your blues coming after you from above and below. Who gets there first is a coin toss, so tell me. You feeling lucky? Well, you. Any questions? You and this DA, you're... Officer? You're both. You're all. You're out of your damn minds. Do you work for the Blue Bloods? Never thought of it that way. Even back when I was a kid, I thought they were just another institution. Like a neighborhood watch, people looking out for each other. Everyone's parents are off working or enlisted or in jail for civil disobedience. Whole neighborhoods that cops, medics, goddamn firemen wouldn't even step foot in. Didn't see it as transactional, thought I was just lending a hand. My blood ain't worth shit. It wasn't useful for it to be a young blood, not good looking enough to be a host. But I kept going to school. They helped me pay for it, because it was, in fact, transactional. They expected to get something in return. Police Academy. Their man on the inside. Wasn't it as exciting as it sounds? I made sure it wasn't. Test scores sucked, aptitude sucked, clumsy and boring. I made sure no one would want to give me anything important to do. Valuable enough that the Blue Bloods wouldn't out me. Not valuable enough that the cops would give me anything worth passing on. The world's worst double agent. So bad at his job, he'd never be expected to double-cross anyone. Imagine the look on my face when my reputation for nothingness gets me paired up with the worst babysitting job on the force. Tariq Chopin. We were perfectly matched in a way. I didn't want to be near nothing, and nobody wanted to let him near anything. Nothing dangerous enough to get him hurt, nothing real enough that he'd go blabbing to his dad's. We went around to schools. Those are the jobs we get. Building security? Morning assemblies, telling the kids what cops do. Here's how to call for help. That makes him way more interesting than I figured it would be. Yeah, I figured he was, like, tied to the Blue Bloods. I didn't realize, like, how far that went. We were a goddamn joke. And also that, you know, he wasn't actually trying to inform with the Blue Bloods. He was actively trying to not. He was a plant that didn't want to be a plant, essentially. There are worse things to be. You think I don't know that? You think I give a shit that kids were laughing at us in the back of the class? That teens were throwing soda cans at our car? Good for them. At least they were having fun. A cop that hates cops. Tariq was never having fun. He was just burning inside. Humiliation and bile, a stomach full of it. If he hadn't found the code on tanks that day, I don't know. I would have either put in his 2 weeks notice or just drawn his gun and walked into the nearest Orca mansion. So when you two arrived at that building, happened like the defense attorney said. I told Chopin some bullshit about smelling contraband on the second floor. He started poking around. And I went straight to the third floor because that's where bosses would hang out back when I was a kid, where they give us spare change to buy their groceries and pick up their laundry. Never met this creek or this pod in my life until we stopped Ankur Tan. Different gens. And I'd never seen anything like it, the bloodbath in that room. All 4 of the pod were dead when I got there. Believe me, don't believe me. I ain't no Hound of Ikari. I don't even think he could have done that. He could have done that either. Considering how he stumbled out of that water closet like a bloody water balloon. I did whack him on the back of the head, but my hand to God, I'm not convinced it did anything. Face down in the blood, out like that. Couldn't have woke him up with a nuke. When the Hound dropped, I searched him, followed protocol, found that knife in his hand. Called down, said everyone was dead, that Blue Blood bolted. Tariq called after them. And yeah, I opened the window and tried to follow. Guess Tariq didn't know the ladder was out. Figured I would chase him down, because by the time I stepped back inside, he was upstairs. And I walked up those steps expecting to be puking, crying, shaking. I don't know. Instead, he starts yelling down, happy, ecstatic. He can't believe this. Scoop of the century. And I realize I know what he's talking about. Your Blue Blood superiors let you know about Prop 492? Lots of people know the deal with Prop 492, even non-blooded civvies. Nothing wrong with any of that so long as it stayed a rumor. So long as the state didn't know where we knew where the pillars were going to be built. It was a nice thing, believe it or not. People coming in the lower wards whispering about big money coming in. The worst thing about this trial is that I blew up Prop 492. That would have helped a lot of people. But I just kind of exploded it. Tariq was excited, too. All he could see was forward. Barely reading the words in front of his eyes. Not giving a shit about anything behind him. Not caring about what he was trampling over. I didn't plan on doing anything that matters if you care. I was moving slow, but I wasn't trying to hide. I just... After taking it off the hound, I still had that knife. That goddamn knife in my hand. You all seem like educated people, so I take it none of y'all believe in evil? We believe in evil down in the lower wards. It's like a fog. Hangs around certain people, places. And it poured off that knife like a water fountain. Oh my god, he was able to sense her chakra on the knife. The devil made you do it? Haven't heard that one in a while. It wasn't for that dark card being there. You know, Tariq told me once that he wanted to become mayor. Fucking god damn it. This all comes back to Morgan. If the fucking dark card didn't get stuck in the machine, none of this shit would have happened. I just did this stupid fake laugh and told him he had my vote. I don't know why I did that. I shouldn't have done that. Laughed at him? Shouldn't have lied to him. And so, Your Honor, the people will be dismissing the court charge of homicide in first degree with prejudice. What does that mean? They can't charge you with Officer Chopin's murder again at a later date just because they found more evidence. And the 4 other charges of second-degree homicide? We will be dismissing the 4 charges of second-degree homicide without prejudice. So she's not quite convinced I couldn't have killed Creek's pod? Miller's blood, having already been on the knife you used to get free in the first place, was pretty huge. Combined with Rogers admitting that you basically stumbled out a walking corpse. But, with the way the state sees it, their murders aren't any more solved than they were at the beginning of this trial. It's to be expected. Then the jury will be dismissed, this court will be adjourned, and you, Mr. Akaria, are free to go. Everything that's happened to you in the last few days, how is that leaving you so shocked? I'm not shocked, I'm just grateful, Counselor. You have my... Ahem! Your Honor, is there perhaps something else you wanted to say? Well, if you insist. I guess for some reason, even though the jury's been dismissed and it's actually their job to do this part, and the charges were dropped, I have this strong, overwhelming urge to say, not guilty. No, that needs to be much bigger. Maybe, I cast ye innocent. Do you think Morgan actually gets paid unlike Phoenix? I mean, yeah, have you seen her apartment? Like, granted, she does do a lot of gambling, but, I think she does also get paid. No, that sounds dumb. (4:56 p.m.) August 16th, 2086. State Building, floor 48. So how do you plan on celebrating? Adonai. We won, in case you two somehow missed it. And I won, and won so definitively that the police and even the Blue Bloods can't hold a grudge. Right. My apologies. I'm grateful to you, of course. It's just that I still haven't gotten an answer to the question that's been haunting me. Even more so than whether or not I killed Chopin. Someone slaughtered Creek's entire pod. Then they had my life in the palm of their hand and framed you, Sosuke. I don't think they were doing you any favors. And yet they did. They let me live. It feels strange owing everything to someone so unknowable. Well, You'll have plenty of time to think on it, spending the rest of your life hiding your head in the sand, ignoring the vast riches that sit untapped in his savings account across the sea. Adonai, he's made his stance quite clear. I don't intend to hide, Morgan. The Blue Bloods can try whatever they like. Someone's so 3 feet away. Yeah, basically. You know what? You can forget that person and just give all of your thanks to me, your defense attorney. And they find me standing right where I've always stood, protecting my family. It seems there's someone who'd like to speak with you about just that. Sosuke! Young Master! Please forgive me, young master. I've failed you repeatedly. Just your defense attorney. Nothing else. Just defending you. Definitely didn't do anything else. I'll accept any punishment. Very well. 108 years of manual labor. Oh. Yeah, that's about as merciful as I expected. At least he picked a good number. 100 and... Of course, young master. You'll need to spend that sentence serving as my head of security, so that I know you're actually doing it. And that means you won't be able to do any other jobs anymore, even ones that the elders ask you to do. Even delivering messages. It's a punishment handed down by the heir to the noble house Icarius, Sosuke. Who could possibly overrule it? As you say. I'll start right away, if you don't mind. That is probably wise. Grandfather's outside in the motorcade, and he has had nothing but criticisms for the current formation. The chairman is here. He came here. Probably just happened to be on his way to the airport. He is, Counselor Morgan. Surprisingly astute of you. Daisuke, if he felt like it, I'm sure. Well, yeah, he obviously could. Because, instead of being the heir, he is just the person running it. Though he is leaving quite early if he just wants to get to the airport. None of our private planes are even fueled. It seems to be a universal truth that old people like to get to the airport early. That sounds very wise, Sarah of House Père Aligal. Who are you quoting? Then, if you'll excuse me for a moment, Counselor. Yeah, feel free to. Take Sarah with you. Pardon? If you don't let her look at your tattoo now, I'll never hear the end of it. Yes, well, that's... Right then, I'll find a corner in which to lift up my shirt. Un instant. Congratulations, Counselor. You succeeded on all fronts. She's X-raying him, I'm sure. Thanks. Not satisfied? Makoto seems to be in a good mood. If you ask him for a bonus now... Shouldn't I just negotiate with my employer directly? You're the one who hired me, aren't you? At the very least, you're the one who put my name forward to Makoto. It's easy to see, looking back, you're the only one who's acted in Sosuke's interest this entire time. Who isn't a child. And? What of it? Why me? Why does it matter? Because I value my privacy. I want to know why a woman with your resources would put an ant like me under her magnifying glass. Such cruel metaphors you employ. She also showed up at your apartment? Well, yeah. So did a cop. Someone who values their privacy that much should, in the future, avoid directly confronting the board of multinational corporations. Noble's board of directors, you were... Not among them myself, but when one woman shifts the opinion of a room that's stagnant even by a millimeter, word gets around. My, you really are a shy little girl. No putting the genie back in the bottle, but I won't recommend you to anyone else if it bothers you that much. Thanks. Though you can be pretty shy yourself, letting Makoto take all the credit. Why this subterfuge? I've already overextended myself in this matter. A woman, from my side of the house, intruding on the IFG's business. I don't mind that I'll have to rip out my fingernails in front of the elders as a recompense, but I thought I might spare myself the additional pinky or so. You're being literal, aren't you? Disobedience always has a cost, especially in the old families. Especially for daughters. But not flinching as you pay the toll carries its own kind of power, don't you think? Maybe I'm just trying to dress up my cowardice as dignity. Disobedience used to come naturally to me. It gets harder the older you get. Harder to believe your independence wasn't just immaturity. That's why I'm glad Makoto's such a good boy. I don't want him to feel any guilt later in life. Yes, Makoto certainly takes his responsibilities seriously. Can't imagine where he gets it from. I was such a hellraiser. He must get it from his father. I suppose it's an interesting mark below Sosuke's eye. Looks like a mole, but it seems to be hereditary. Does Makoto know Sosuke's his father? Does Sosuke? I would be very disappointed in Sosuke's intelligence if he didn't. That's why Sosuke left the family to join the military, wasn't it? Why he has to become the Hound when he came back? Self-imposed exile for interfering in your arranged marriage? As soon as they pointed out Sosuke's mole, yeah, that was pretty obvious. Interfering. We were younger then, but we still knew what we were doing. We knew there was no stopping the marriage. If we didn't cover up the pregnancy, others would. Or just eliminate the problem themselves. Sosuke left before the bridal shower. Sudden enlistment, certainly, but I don't blame him for not wanting to be there on guard duty as I married another man. Must head to bed. I wanted to stream this. I have a really weird headache coming on. Oh yeah, don't worry about it, Sun Praiser. I appreciate you sticking around. If Makoto is Sosuke's son, though, that means he carries his blood. If he stands to inherit it from both his father and mother, his worth... I understand this is going to be hard for you to believe, coming from a woman like me, but Makoto's already worth enough. He has his health, he has his mother, and his father will always be close by. Every moment we've shared as a family is worth its weight in gold. And as you've now seen, when given the opportunity to choose between Makoto and the Blue Blood fortune, Sosuke chose the former. All of you could have it all. Why don't you want it all? We already have it. I see. You don't understand, do you? I hope you do, someday. Let's get back to something I fully understand, then. Bargaining. One blood test for Makoto could split your precious house right down the middle. Your husband will be infuriated, assuming he has a pulse, and whatever connections you married him for will burn up in seconds. So unless you guarantee me that I'm free to turn down any job... Don't make unnecessary threats, counselor. It makes you look weak. Take it from someone with experience, you're always free to leave the house. But if you find yourself slinking back, don't be too hard on yourself about it. It's just what the house does. Now, would you excuse me? Sosuke seems to have satisfied your companion's curiosity for the time being, and it's very rare for him to have any time to himself. You don't understand, do you? Counselor Morgan. Emma. What's that look for? So that's 2 wins for me now, isn't it? After Rogers went nuts and perjured himself all over the place, you're calling that shitstorm a win? It definitely wasn't a loss. You're ridiculous. Thanks, by the way, for letting things play out as long as they did. You know, I've seen a lot of people talking about the differences in Morgan and Emma's choice in game and how they're represented. And like how, you know, Emma wants to go off specific information, not conjecture, because she wants to play like Go or chess. Because it's stuff you can plan for and like plan ahead and you put all your cards on the table, all that sort of stuff. Morgan doesn't like to, she likes being a sneaky bitch, etc. But also, very importantly, I don't think you can really draw in gambling. Somebody always wins. But in chess you can come to a stalemate. In chess you can draw. Just another thing to think about. I imagine you wanted to put the brakes on things a number of times back there. But now that it's all out, my client won't be getting knifed by cops or blue bloods. Chess and Go, you can both tie in both. Yeah, and also, those are both games that you... I wasn't going to speak to it on Go because I didn't totally know. But I figured. It's like you can tie in Go and chess, both things that Emma chooses, like, is represented by. It's like she can tie, she can draw, whatever. Morgan is in it to win or lose. Period. End of sentence. There's no drawing. She wants to win or lose. She doesn't want this, like, middle ground shit. At least not for anything he didn't do. You think I was happy to let the Hound of Icaria walk out of my courtroom? Your courtroom. I'll have to have a word with the adjutant. Please don't. But yes, I had my doubts. The OC unit has been getting a number of odd reports in the last 24 hours, truth be told. What do you mean? Bursts of anonymous tips about figures in red being spotted around Creek's place before and after the killings. Figures in red? That's right. The rust. Ah, right. The rust. I don't like the timing, but it's not as if the OC can ignore the idea altogether. Someone killed those four, and it wasn't Sosuke or Rogers. If you don't like the rust for it, where's your head at? Whoever killed Creek's pod did it with such unhinged brutality, and yet it was executed with precision so cold-blooded that they managed to virtually erase their presence from the scene afterwards. Yeah. Tanks and Creek were both shot from fairly close range and near enough to their solar plexuses. I suppose. Bashing Trey's Scullion was overkill, but it was the safest way to erase anything his mods may have recorded. And even if it was an afterthought, that overcorrection is in line with perfectionism interrupted by... forget it. I'm seeing things that aren't there. First sign of obsession. Obsession? I'm jealous. You seem like you never let anything get to you. It's unpleasant, you know? Feeling like you're possessed by something. Or someone. Well, if it was easy to wrest control back, it wouldn't be an obsession. Just puppy love. Oh, that's me. Gotta take this call. See you around, Morgan. Yeah, see you around. Just don't go telling anyone that was a win, or I'll have you arrested for spreading misinformation. Well, we can't have that. Okay, Morgan, I've fulfilled my obligation to Sarah now, so now you can buy me a goddamn drink. Pardon? You can start your 108-year sentence tomorrow. I've got some paperwork we need to go through before then, and I don't want to do it sober. Oh, you're serious? Of course I am. Everyone knows it's tradition for a client to buy their lawyer a drink after beating charges like this. And in this city, they take them to this one special bar, Kintsugi. I've never heard of that tradition. She's trying to drum up business for her buddy. Yay. Or that bar. Yes, well, you've lived a very sheltered life under the roof of House Icaria, but I forgive your ignorance. Time for you to put the fat wallet you've been accruing that whole time to good use. I suppose I do owe you a great deal. Very well, but first I must inform Lady Mireille and the young master. Go right ahead. Be my guest. What was that, Adonai? Do you want to get a look at Sosuke's tattoo as well? I'll take a rain check. Sosuke seems much more animated this afternoon, don't you think? Did you say something to him? No. No, I didn't do anything. I see. Then perhaps his injuries were just taxing him more than we realized. That must be it. It had been threatening to rain all day. Gray skies spanning a slate blue world. It was cold, and all the heaters were humming in their rush to overcorrect for it. At 3 o'clock, raindrops started hitting the windowsills. Not a problem. She had her umbrella. At 3:15, the adults started leaning back in their chairs. Watches and phones were being checked. They were preparing to leave. At 3:24, another topic is brought up. The gathering resigns themselves to a continuation. It's 3:45 by the time the girl is able to excuse herself. She has 15 minutes to get back to school. Hardly impossible on foot if she hurried, but she could have asked to be driven there. For some reason, the thought never crossed her mind. She hesitates at the door. She'd left her umbrella behind, back upstairs. Not like her to be so absent-minded. The smart thing to do would be to go back up and get it. It is 3:49. At 3:51, she is jogging. A non-committal, yet still undignified rush. When she sees the time on her phone roll over to 3:52, she starts to run. She hates running. A small part of her considers sending a text. She'd never been the one to text first. Come to think of it, she'd never been the one to text second. She only had one number in her phone's contacts, after all. At 3:56, the school gates are in sight. Her eyes had been straining to see them. She wasn't looking down. Her knees stung in a shallow, sharp way. The palms of her hands were embedded with specks of gravel where she caught herself. Rain-diluted blood ran faintly down her leg as she dripped water onto the mundanely tiled floors of the hallway. At 3:59, she pauses to at least catch her breath before sliding the door open. If her heart hadn't been beating so loudly in her ears, she would have easily heard the voices behind it. Where do you even come up with this stuff? Hey, I can't promise it's going to be that exciting every week around here, but... Ev, what are you... I thought you had a family thing? Oh shit, are you okay? What happened? You're soaked and... I thought... We're the Mystery Club. Name pending, I hope. I was told the name could change. You were right, Ev. I just went around to people on campus and tried being friendly, being myself, and... people started signing up. But forget that, your knee. It's fine. You must be freezing. Let me give you my coat. Screw it, I'll just carry you to the nurse myself. Stop. Ma'am, this girl just showed up and she's bleeding. What? Bleeding? Everyone stand back. Where is she? Who? I wonder if that was intentional to flip. Yeah, because they gave the other person the red text, just to trick you. What's her name? I don't know. I don't think I've seen her before. You, girl, come with me. I'm taking you to the infirmary. Ma'am, she's cold. That's very nice of you, but it's not sanitary to share uniforms. Stay here and wait for the floors to be cleaned. Ev, don't worry about it. I can walk on my own. 5:44 p.m., August 16th, 2086. Bar Kintsugi. And with a little sprinkle of salt just along the edge. There you have it. Oh, that looks wonderful. Thank you. Let me know if you want something. I definitely want to eat food at some point. I'm pretty hungry. But I think we're wrapping up here, so I should be able to answer soon enough. Of course. Let me know if you need anything else. I must admit, Morgan, this is quite a fine establishment. And so exclusive. The whole staff here on hand to attend is just the two of us. Can't even imagine what the waiting list must be like. Right? Lucky for you, you've got a man working on the inside. I can assure you a table at any time, Sosuke. You or any of your housemates ever need a quiet spot to lay low from the judging eyes of high society? Now you know where to send them. I might do just that. And these prices, so reasonable. Shit, I knew I should have gone with the digital menus. Hey, Sosuke, that name they have for you, the Hound. That a title you were given, or just part of the mantle you chose to take up? No, I was called that long before I started delivering messages. Long before I got my tattoo. Truth be told, I'm not sure where it came from, or when people started using it. Childhood nickname, I suppose. Earned by following Murray around like a puppy. I never, Who told you Murray was the heir when we were... It's a miracle you didn't break under torture, you know that? The Hound of Icaria. So everyone called you a dog when you were a kid? Jokingly. Lovingly. Murray's right. I don't know anything about... One of the many things I've long since acknowledged that I'm missing. But obsession? Addiction? Those are easy enough to grasp. I've rolled the dice plenty of times by now. There are no demons haunting me, no other drivers in the car. Just me, sitting in the dark with a hole in my chest. When it's hungry, I feed it. It'll never be full, because that hole was there first. And it built a girl around itself so it would have a place to hide. How can you tell? That they called you that lovingly. I suppose you never know. You just trust. And if you do trust, then that's your answer. And besides, what's insulting about being compared to a dog? Everyone loves dogs. Probably even you. For your information, I like dogs just fine, Sosuke. But I could never live as one. Everyone's already collared in this world, tagged, labeled, classified, and put in a box. But even so, I refuse to sit on the end of someone's leash. Better to remain astray. Thanks, evil little bug. Thank you, everyone at Nth Circle Studios for another fucking fantastic chapter of another fucking fantastic chapter of the Devil. I'm gonna let the credits run for a little bit. Yeah. Look, if these keep increasing in quality as it keeps going, I'm fucked. I'm gonna explode the next time one of these comes out. I'm gonna be reading it and I'm just gonna be like, oh shit. I guess that's peak fiction. Didn't even build today because I'm tired, depressed, or both. Those are very similar things, unfortunately. I fucking know it. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna keep playing these. They're extremely, extremely good. And I'm very, very much looking forward to the next one. I have thought about making myself one of those, like, of the Devil, like, character profile cards. It seems fun to put one of those together. But, you know, I'm also not a writer, so I don't know how funny or interesting I'd be able to make it. I have work tomorrow. Damn. My birthday's tomorrow. I'm probably gonna play Project Silverfish. Because I want it. I don't usually stream on Saturdays, of course. But, you know, it's my birthday. I'm gonna do a birthday stream. Probably not a super long one. The cell phone lock screen. Would a victory sure be nice? Yeah, I guess. I wasn't looking out for anything in particular. The rest... Oh, I'm gonna unauto this. The rest give me and the others food and stuff for telling them where the blues go and who they talk to. My shoes have been feeling too small, and the blue guys in that building had been real busy lately. Thought if I hung around there, I might see something Rust would give me new shoes for. But I never saw anything worth anything. So you gave up? No. I got scared. What scared you? You won't believe me. No one believes me. Everyone says I'm a liar. Everyone says I'm a liar, too. Are you? I can't remember. You see, somebody took something that belonged to me. I don't feel right without it. But I think you would help me find it. What'd you lose? My face. So this is the huntsman. I saw the red hood. Except she was a lady, not a girl, and she didn't have her hood up. I didn't get a good look at her face, but she was all red. Red hair. What's this? Gold. Thanks. But are you sure I wasn't any help? You've been a huge help. Now I know to look for red hair. I've tracked more elusive prey with less. To be continued in Of the Devil, Episode 3. Quoting Scripture. Episode 2, Results. 7 articles, 22 profiles, 34 key terms, 28 pieces of evidence, 177 total credit earned. Congratulations, you finished Episode 2 with 177 credit. Your high score for Episode 2 is currently 177. Too far out to even remember calling it, I'm sure. I saw that text and I was like, damn, is this Penny? And then I remembered that Penny is from a game that fucking doesn't even happen until way, way past the events of this game. You have a total of 287 remaining store credits to spend on phone charms and case colors based on the highest credit with which you finish this episode. Can I buy stuff on my phone? Bonuses. Really? I want to buy my, I want to buy, oh, there we go. Let's see, did we get anything new? Rose gold, magenta, white. Sarah, Sadostock, Emma. Reyes. Oh, we got 80. I think I'm gonna buy 80, but I think I'm gonna switch back to Emma. I might eventually do these on high roller, mostly because I know how everything goes, so it should be easy. Anyway, guys. You monster. Look, I just like Emma, okay? Anyway, I appreciate you all stopping by. I really enjoyed this stream, and I will hopefully see you tomorrow for my birthday. It probably won't be a long stream. It'll probably just be me hanging out for a little bit, maybe playing some Project Silverfish. But, you know, I hope you stop by. Bye-bye.